Chapter 1. 7 years ago, Ethan Miller, my parents' adopted son and my second younger brother, was responsible for a drunk driving hit and run. My parents and my biological younger brother all tried to persuade me. Ethan's health is poor. He can't go to prison. Will you serve his sentence for him? I refused. But late one night, they personally handed me over to the police. And my fiancée, Sylvia Vance, a financial magnate with immense power in Capital City, had arranged everything. She said, "Shawn, when you get out, I'll marry you. Just endure these 7 years. It's a sacrifice." 7 years later. Shawn Miller, live a good life after your release. Don't look back. I took the faded cloth bag from the prison guard, bowed, and limped out of Redwood Penitentiary. A Carlman King SUV was already waiting outside. As the window rolled down, my fiancée Sylvia Vance's beautiful, cool eyes gradually came into view. Shawn. 7 years, and she hadn't changed a bit. I, however, unconsciously lowered my head and got into the car. The rearview mirror reflected my gaunt, scarred face. "These 7 years, you've suffered. I will honor my promise and marry you." Sylvia Vance grasped my emaciated hand. But looking at the reflection of my gaunt self in her eyes, I slowly withdrew my hand, feeling utterly listless. 7 years of confinement, 2589 days and nights, had long since made me see Sylvia Vance and my family for who they truly were. They didn't love me at all, and I no longer wanted to marry her. Sylvia sensed my coldness and instinctively explained. "Ethan knew you were coming back today, and it reminded him of the car accident 7 years ago. His depression flared up again. Your parents and your brother are with him at the hospital now." I listened silently, closing my eyes. 25 years ago, at the age of 2, I got lost in a shopping mall. My mother, desperate to find her son, adopted Ethan Miller from an orphanage because he bore a resemblance to me. But when my parents found me at the age of 15, they showed me no love. They always insisted I give in to Ethan. 7 years ago, they even made me take the fall for Ethan and go to prison. Compared to Ethan, it was as if I were the adopted one. Along the way, countless cars tacitly made way for Sylvia Vance, clearing a wide path. An hour later, we arrived at the Miller estate. Only Mr. Jeeves, the butler, and the servants were present. When they saw me return, their eyes were filled with disdain. My parents only loved Ethan, not me, their biological son. So, in the servants' eyes, I wasn't the eldest young master of the Miller family. "Miss Vance, you've arrived." Mr. Jeeves first greeted Sylvia Vance with utmost deference, then finally looked at me. "Young Master Shawn, Mrs. Miller said that after you return, you are not to show your face in public and bring shame upon the Miller family." Shame? I had clearly served time for Ethan. How was it I who brought shame? However, ever since that late night 7 years ago when they put me in the police car, I had lost all expectations of them. Understood. I was about to enter the house. Sylvia Vance received a call at that moment. After hanging up, she suddenly said to me, "Shawn, Ethan's having another episode. He needs me. I'm going to check on him. You just got back, so rest well. I'll come see you tomorrow." With that, she left in a hurry. Watching her figure disappear, I limped back to the storeroom where I lived. Pushing the door open, I was met with a cloud of dust. I was too tired. After walking in, I couldn't help but lie down on the bed. Evening. In a half-asleep state, I heard the voice of my full-blooded younger brother, Ryan Miller, from the living room. "Dad, Mom, Ethan's condition is so serious now. Why don't we have Big Broem move out? Otherwise, Ethan will have an episode every time he sees him." My father sighed but said nothing. But my mother said, "No matter what, he's still a son of the Miller family. If we make him move out, what will others think of us?" "Then what should we do? We can't let Ethan stay in the hospital forever, can we?" Ryan pressed. My father then spoke, "How about this? When Ethan comes back, Shawn should stay out of his sight and remain in his room." Hearing these words, my eyes began to burn. Just then, my phone vibrated. I picked it up and saw a confidential email. "Shawn Miller, congratulations on your acceptance into the National Institute for Classified Scientific Research. Upon accepting this position, you will, in 10 days, travel to Dominica with a team of scientific and technical personnel under a new identity for research work. Your identity will remain confidential henceforth. For 5 years, you are not to contact anyone from the outside world." I carefully read all the regulations. Resolutely, I signed my name on it, Shawn Miller. Chapter 2. 7 years ago, I had already been accepted into the National Institute for Classified Scientific Research. Tragically, before I could decide to go to the institute, my own parents sent me to prison. During those 7 years in prison, I saw everything clearly. As my release approached, I applied for a position at the institute again. Shortly after sending the email, I received a reply. 10 days from now, on December 10th, a dedicated car will pick you up punctually at 9 p.m. 10 days, I closed my eyes again. Thankfully, I only had to endure 10 more days, and then I could leave this loveless home forever. The next day, early in the morning, the noisy sounds from the living room woke me. I groggily opened my eyes, washed up, and walked out of my room. There, in the living room, was Ethan Miller. He was wearing a white shirt, sitting on the sofa like a prince. And my father, my mother, my biological brother Ryan, and my fiancée Sylvia Vance were all gathered around him. Mr. Jeeves brought out a cake. Everyone said in unison, "Happy birthday, Ethan." Ethan's eyes were filled with happiness. "Thank you, Dad, Mom, Ryan, and Big Sis V." Then, he added, "I just got out of the hospital. Did you all prepare gifts for me?" My parents and brother presented their gifts one after another. Just as my fiancée Sylvia Vance was about to present her gift, she saw me emerge from the storeroom. "Shawn, you're awake. Come over quickly, let's celebrate Ethan's birthday together." She beckoned me over, failing to notice the change in my parents' and brother's expressions. Ethan, however, called out to me affectionately, "Big bro I'm sorry. I was sick yesterday and couldn't pick you up from prison. You're not mad at me, are you?" "Brother," before I could respond, Sylvia spoke, "Shawn is very magnanimous. He won't hold it against you." Hearing this, Ethan took Sylvia's hand and said to me, "Big bro it's my birthday today. Give me a birthday present. I want Big Sis V." He voiced his vile intentions so blatantly, yet no one present said a word, all waiting for my answer. I had never met such a shameless person. I clenched my fists. "What if I'm not willing?" Ethan's face stiffened. He suddenly said in French, sounding aggrieved, "I was just joking. I didn't expect brother to take it so seriously." My mother consoled him in French, "Ethan, don't be sad. Shawn Miller is nothing like me, so petty and pretentious." And my father also said, "Ethan, don't mind him. No matter what, your mother and I only consider you our real son." My brother Ryan chimed in, also in French, "That's right, Ethan. You're my only brother." What a family. I pretended not to understand and asked Sylvia, who was beside me, "What are they talking about?" Sylvia's eyes were deep, her lips parting slightly. Ethan said he was joking. "Everyone's telling you not to overthink it." "Don't overthink it." I didn't know how Sylvia and my family could lie to my face so brazenly without batting an eye. They didn't know that I understood every word of their conversation. My mother was a renowned artist, and my father had been a dominant figure in the business world in his youth. Ever since they found me at the orphanage, they had always looked down on me for not receiving a good education from a young age. Thus, their attention was solely focused on their adopted son, Ethan Miller. 10 years ago, Ethan and I took our college entrance exams together. Ethan was admitted to an art academy and was celebrated lavishly. But they never knew that I had been accepted into top universities and had not only taught myself French, but also knew Italian and Spanish, however. None of that mattered anymore. Because I would soon be leaving this hypocritical family, and the equally hypocritical Sylvia Vance. I just got out of prison and haven't had a good look at Capital City as it is now. I'm heading out. You all carry on. With that, I limped away under the disdainful gazes of my family and the servants. Behind me, my parents and brother, without any restraint, continued to badmouth me in French. They had all forgotten. Today was also my birthday. Chapter 3. After leaving the Miller estate, I took the city loop bus to the West End shopping district. Because I had a criminal record, all my academic information had been erased, and I had numerous problems, including a physical disability. I could only find a part-time job as a kitchen hand in a restaurant to sustain myself for the next 10 days. It was laughable, really. After I was brought back to the Miller family at 15, only in the first month did the Millers give me $1,000 for living expenses. After that, they disliked me for not being as outstanding as Ethan and were unwilling to bother with me, their biological son. I could only work part-time jobs while studying, covering my own tuition and living expenses, at 11:30 p.m., after washing the last bowl. I walked out of the restaurant alone and saw Sylvia Vance getting out of a Rolls-Royce Phantom and approaching me. "Shawn, what took you so long?" Before I could speak, Sylvia pulled me to the car, opened the door, and I saw a beautiful strawberry cake on the passenger seat. "Shawn, happy birthday." Hearing this, I froze on the spot. The Vance and Miller families were old friends and also neighbors. Sylvia and I had been engaged since before we were born. It was a childhood betrothal. Even after I got lost at 2 and was found at 15, this engagement never changed. I still remembered that when I first returned to the Miller family, the first person I saw was Sylvia Vance. At that time, she wore a white dress, standing in the sunlight, radiating a glow. Sylvia was the third child in the Vance family. Mr. Jeeves told me to call her young Miss Vance. I called her that for 5 years. At the Miller house, only Sylvia didn't look down on me. She would stand up for me when others bullied me and give me gifts on various holidays. She was the only person in Capital City who was good to me. This kindness made me fall hopelessly in love with her, seeing her as my salvation, my pillar of support. Even when she was injured by a rival company, I didn't hesitate to give her one of my kidneys. But in the end, it was also she who orchestrated my 7 years in prison. "Shawn, what's wrong? Did you think I forgot your birthday?" Sylvia's voice brought me back to my senses. I replied calmly, "Thank you." Sylvia then took out an exquisite gift box from the back seat. "Open it." I lifted the lid. Inside was a custom-made white suit. "Remember when you were little, you said you wanted to marry me in a white suit. I had it prepared in advance. Do you like it?" she said gently. In this world, probably only Sylvia Vance would gift me a white suit. My throat felt bitter and I murmured, "Sylvia, you remembered incorrectly. I don't like suits, and I especially don't like white." The director of the orphanage once told me that he found me at the entrance of a bridal shop. At that time, I was wearing an expensive white suit. So much so that after I became a little more sensible, I would occasionally linger at the entrance of bridal shops and habitually wear all sorts of white clothes, all in the hope that my parents would find me. Sylvia froze, then raised her hand and ruffled my hair, just like 7 years ago. "I'm sorry, I remembered wrongly. I'll have a new one custom made right away. Come on, I'll take you to a restaurant to celebrate your birthday." We got in the car. On the way back, a light rain began to fall. Sylvia held my hand tightly. "Shawn, how did you get even thinner than 7 years ago? And your leg?" Before she could finish her question, her phone rang. I immediately saw the caller ID. "Ethan." Sylvia answered the phone. I didn't know what was said on the other end, but her eyes filled with panic. She hurriedly told the driver, "Back to the Miller estate." On the way back to the Miller estate, Sylvia kept sending messages to Ethan. By the time we rushed back to the Miller house, I saw Ethan Miller, dressed in a white suit, standing on the roof of the villa. When Ethan saw Sylvia and me return, his face turned pale and he murmured, "Dad, Mom, Ryan, Sylvia, Big Bro M is back. It's time for me to step aside. Goodbye." With that, he leaped from the roof chapter, for the Miller family villa was only 1 story high. The roof was barely 10 meters from the ground. Yet, when Ethan jumped, my parents, my brother, and Sylvia all rushed towards him. That night, the sound of ambulance sirens echoed around the Miller villa. After they all went to the hospital, I limped back to my storeroom. Lying on the bed, I opened my phone. It displayed December 2nd, 12:13 a.m. Sylvia had broken her promise. She hadn't celebrated my birthday with me, and I didn't seem to feel as bad as before. I closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep. Only 8 days left. After 8 days, the government would come to take me away from here. For the next 5 days, I went to work and came home as usual. My parents and brother were at the hospital taking care of Ethan and hadn't returned. On this day, the television in the restaurant was broadcasting the news. Sylvia Vance, CEO of Vance Corporation, and Ethan Miller, young master of the Miller family, announced their engagement. My pupils constricted slightly. That night when I returned home, my parents, brother, and Ethan were all back. Sylvia was there too. My mother first berated me in French, "Coming back so late, who knows where you've been gallivanting?" My father shot her a look. Only then did she speak to me nicely. "Shawn, you're finally back. The whole family has been waiting for you." My father then spoke. "Shawn, the doctor said Ethan's depression is getting worse. So, we've taken the liberty of transferring your engagement to Ethan. You don't have any objections, do you?" I listened silently as they finished, my eyes filled with mockery. They had already made the decision for me, and now they were asking for my opinion. I looked at Sylvia, feigning ignorance. "Sylvia, did you agree too?" Sylvia stood up from the sofa, walked over, and took my hand. "Ethan's only wish right now is to marry me. Don't worry, I won't let you down. I'll only hold a wedding ceremony with him to fulfill his wish." She was about to marry someone else. How could she not let me down? I pulled my hand away. "Fine, you guys decide." Hearing my words, Sylvia's heart inexplicably tightened. She wanted to explain further, but Ethan, sitting between our parents, spoke up. "Big bro M, if you're not willing, then forget it." As he spoke, his fingers dug fiercely into the back of his hand, drawing blood. Beside him, my brother Ryan saw this and quickly tried to stop him, then yelled at me. "Shawn Miller, can't you see my second brother is sick? Do you want our whole family and Sylvia to kneel down and beg you?" My own brother was so incapable of distinguishing right from wrong. Hearing his words, I couldn't help but remember when I first came to the Miller house. Initially, they made me give my room to Ethan. Later, they made me give my study abroad opportunity to Ethan. After Ethan committed the crime, my mother even knelt before me, saying, "I raised Ethan with my own hands. He's not that bad. His health is poor. If he goes to jail, he'll surely die. Mom is begging you, please help Mom one last time. You take Ethan's place in prison." Recalling all of this, I said to my brother Ryan, "All right, if you all kneel and beg me, I'll agree to let Ethan have the marriage." Chapter 5, a deathly silence fell over the living room. Everyone was speechless, clearly not expecting that I, who had always been submissive and agreed to everything, would suddenly say such a thing. I didn't want to get entangled with them any longer and limped back to my room. Late at night, lying in bed, I opened my phone and looked at the calendar. December 7th, only 3 days left. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a call from Sylvia Vance. I answered, "Is there something?" "Shawn," Sylvia's familiar, pleasant voice came through. "Ethan once saved my life. He gave me his kidney. So this time, even if you don't agree, I have to go through with the wedding." Lying in bed, hearing these words felt like being hit by a giant boulder. It was clearly I who had saved her, I who had given her my kidney. How had it become Ethan? "Sylvia, when you were injured, it was clearly me who saved you. It was me who gave you my kidney." I still couldn't stop myself from telling the truth. But the other end of the line was silent for a moment. Then Sylvia spoke. "Shawn Miller, after 7 years in prison, when did you learn to lie?" The one who saved me was clearly Ethan. "Your parents and the doctor can all prove it. You've disappointed me greatly." Lying on the cold bed, I suddenly couldn't utter a single word. 8 years ago, Sylvia was injured by people from a rival company and rushed to the operating room, needing a kidney transplant. Without any hesitation, I underwent tissue typing. It was a match. Without a moment's hesitation, I gave her my kidney. But now, Ethan was taking all the credit. And I couldn't even prove it for myself after a long while. I said to Sylvia, "If you don't believe me, then forget it." Anyway, I had already decided I didn't want her anymore. I hung up the phone, closed my eyes, and fell into a deep sleep. The second to last day, I continued my part-time job at the restaurant, but I saw my biological brother, Ryan Miller, sitting there. When he saw me in a waiter's uniform, a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes, quickly replaced by his usual indifference. "Didn't the family give you any money? Have you been working as a waiter here these past few days, shaming our family?" I didn't know why he had suddenly come here. "I haven't stolen or robbed anyone. What shame am I bringing?" Ryan was taken aback. He stood up. "Mom and Dad are already preparing for second bro M's wedding. I hope you won't provoke him again this time." As he was about to leave, his gaze suddenly fell on my limping leg, a rare show of concern. "Mom and Dad say you should walk properly. You should get that leg checked at the hospital when you have time." Watching his retreating figure, I felt no gratitude. Actually, when I first returned to the Miller family, I was overjoyed to see my younger biological brother. I still remember on Ryan's birthday the first year I was back, I used the money I'd earned from part-time jobs for 6 months to buy him a watch. He casually gave it to a servant, saying, "What brand is this? I never wear cheap stuff. Don't buy things randomly in the future." At that time, Ethan had merely given him a small cake. Ryan was ecstatic and even said, "Ethan, you're like my real brother. You even remembered my birthday and knew I love cake." At that moment, I understood one thing. I didn't have a brother tomorrow night. I would be leaving Capital City. So today, after finishing my last day of work, I collected my wages for the past few days and walked out of the restaurant. The familiar Rolls-Royce Phantom was parked at the mall entrance. Before I could approach, I saw countless fireworks exploding in the sky above the West End shopping district. Then, numerous drones in the dark night arranged themselves into a sentence. Sylvia Vance loves Shawn Miller forever. Chapter 6, Love Forever? I stared blankly at the drones in the sky for a long time. Sylvia Vance walked up to me. "Shawn, about yesterday, I was wrong." Under the neon lights, Sylvia's voice was as gentle as water. "But you have to believe me. Even if Ethan was the one who saved me, the person I love is still you. So you don't need to lie." I suddenly felt like crying. Not because I was moved, but because of Sylvia's words. How could she, time and time again, bully me along with my parents and brother while still claiming to love me? "What's wrong?" Seeing me silent, Sylvia's slender fingers pinched my cheek. "You're really too thin. Why don't you eat more?" Only then did I look at her. 7 years in prison, it wasn't easy for me to stay alive. You don't really think I could have gotten fat, do you? Sylvia met my gaze and trembled violently. Perhaps it was only at this moment that she remembered she had personally sent me to prison. She was about to say something when the door of the parked Phantom opened, and a familiar voice sounded. "Sylvia, big bro M, don't just stand outside. It's cold out." It was Ethan Miller. My heart grew even colder. Sylvia explained, "Ethan specifically came with me to see you. He said he wanted to thank you for your generosity in letting me go through with the wedding with him. Let's go, I'll take you back." She took my hand and led me to the car. In the car, when Ethan saw me get in, his gaze swept over my shabby clothes and he spoke. "Big bro M, don't mom and dad always have the finance department send you money? How come I heard from little bro M that you're still working in a restaurant? That's not good. If outsiders see, they'll think mom and dad are biased and don't treat you well." After Ethan finished, he took off an expensive watch from his wrist and handed it to me. "Big bro M, if you're short on money and too embarrassed to tell mom and dad, just tell me. Mom bought this watch for me last time as a birthday gift. It cost over $3 million. It should be enough for you for a while, right?" $3 million? I looked at the luxurious watch he handed over, my heart filled with self-mockery. One gift from him was worth $3 million. I remembered when I was in high school and needed $3,000 for tuition. I went to my mother, but my mother said, "Money, money, money do I owe you? You should be grateful I gave birth to you. Why are you always asking me for money?" From then on, I never asked the family for a single cent. As for Ethan's claim that the finance department would send me money, that simply never happened. They are biased. Look at what you're wearing and what I am. I pushed away the watch he offered like alms. "Don't put on an act in front of me. I'm not 15 anymore. I don't fall for that. When I was 15 and had just arrived at the Miller house, I wanted to be brothers with Ethan. But he framed me time and again, blaming me for everything bad he did. By the time I realized it, it was too late. Large teardrops instantly rolled down Ethan's cheeks. Seeing this, Sylvia rushed to protect him. "Shawn, Ethan meant well. If you don't want the watch, there's no need to say such harsh things." This was the woman who said she loved me the most. Whenever Ethan and I argued, she always sided with Ethan. "Sylvia, if a poor person is offered charity, must they accept it? Must they be eternally grateful?" I asked, word by word. I had my pride too. Chapter 7, Sylvia couldn't answer. Ethan, however, started to breathe rapidly, gasping for air. "I'm sorry, it's my fault, all my fault. Sylvia, don't blame big bro M." Seeing this, Sylvia instantly panicked and said to the driver, "Quick, change course to the hospital." Then, seeing me in the car, she said, "Shawn, you've gone too far, you can go back by yourself." She left me on the roadside. The car sped away. I no longer felt any sadness. Looking up at the night sky, I noticed snow had started to fall at some point. It was snowing in Capital City. I hadn't expected to see the first snow of the year before I left. I walked back to the Miller estate. The entire Miller villa was festively decorated. My parents were busy arranging Ethan's wedding. The day after tomorrow is an auspicious day, perfect for a wedding. We must make Ethan's wedding grand and splendid. my mother said with a smile. My father, however, sighed. Ah, time flies. I can't believe my son is getting married in the blink of an eye. The elderly couple was both happy and reluctant about Ethan's marriage. Watching them from afar, I realized they truly, deeply loved Ethan. When I was little, I once watched a TV show about finding lost relatives. A little girl had been trafficked to the countryside from a young age and was renamed Zhao Dai, meaning beckon a younger brother. Later, the little girl became a successful businesswoman and found her biological family. She kept telling the host, I don't think my mother would abandon me. She must be looking for me. The host told her that her mother had indeed been looking for her all along, and her mother loved her very, very much. Her mother had originally named her Mingzhu, meaning bright pearl. She was not Zhao Dai. The businesswoman on the TV show sobbed uncontrollably. She repeated over and over, I knew it, my mother wouldn't abandon me. At that time, sitting in front of the TV, I cried my eyes out, and it strengthened my resolve to find my mother. But now, I suddenly felt a little regretful. Regretful that I had reunited with them. If I hadn't, they would surely have remained beautiful figures in my mind. Without greeting my parents, I returned alone to my storeroom. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m., I would be leaving. In the future, the world would be my oyster. I no longer needed to yearn for family affection or romantic love. The day after tomorrow, Ethan Miller and Sylvia Vance were getting married. My brother, Ryan Miller, organized a pre-wedding bachelor party for them at home. Many scions of wealthy families were invited to the bachelor party, as well as some of Ethan's and my former classmates. The next morning, the house was exceptionally lively. My room didn't have a bathroom, so I had to go out to wash up. Passing through the living room, everyone was playing Truth or Dare. Ethan and Sylvia sat in the very center, the focus of everyone's attention. Sylvia, you lost. Do you choose Dare or Truth? A spoiled young lady from a wealthy family said. Sylvia's lips parted slightly. Dare. Then we want you to kiss Ethan for 1 minute. Ethan lowered his head, a blush creeping up his face. My brother Ryan laughed and said, It's a bachelor party today, Sylvia and my second brother's last moments of singlehood. Can't we all just let loose and have fun? Hearing this, the woman's gaze suddenly fell on me, standing not far away. She said, Then Sylvia, you choose any man present here and kiss him for 1 minute. The atmosphere instantly became more animated. The woman even pointed at me, not far off. Shawn, didn't you used to like Sylvia the most? She's getting married soon. Why don't you give her a final 1-minute kiss as a memento? Seeing this, Sylvia stood up and walked towards me, but when she was still a meter away from me, Ethan called out, Sylvia. He looked pitiful. Sylvia glanced back at him, then looked at me, lowering her voice. There are so many people here, and I'm about to marry Ethan. I can't embarrass him. You can understand me, right? I calmly responded with an and turned to wash up. Behind me were the sounds of Sylvia and Ethan kissing, and the crowd cheering. Though I lacked love, I wasn't stupid. When it came to a choice between two, I thanked her for letting me off the hook. Chapter 8 on this day, the entire Miller household was exceptionally lively. The wealthy young socialites showered Ethan Miller and Sylvia Vance with praises. Ethan, you and Sylvia are such a perfect match. We still remember back in high school, Sylvia often picked you up and dropped you home, right? I also remember Sylvia beat up a group of thugs for you. And when you had that car accident, Sylvia protected you without regard for her own safety. You are her one special exception. Ethan's close friend chimed in, Sylvia is good to our Ethan, and our Ethan isn't bad to Sylvia either. Years ago, when Sylvia was injured, Ethan even gave her one of his kidneys. Wow, Sylvia and Ethan truly have a rare, true love, and it's mutual affection. In high society among capitalists, love is a luxury, precious, and rare. I sat alone in my own little corner, feeling a little like laughing, because the Ethan they spoke of was all me. Sylvia was older than me. When I was in high school, she was already in college. Seeing how pitiful I was, she would have her driver wait for me specifically so we could go home together. I was often harassed by thugs, and Sylvia would take off her suit jacket and fight them for me. Once, on the way home by car, we had an accident. Sylvia hugged me tightly, ensuring I wasn't hurt at all. This is also why I fell head over heels in love with her, even giving her my kidney. But the Sylvia who used to like me, protect me, and prioritize me was dead. The The Sylvia sitting in the Miller house now was no longer the radiant girl from before. So, I decided I didn't want her anymore. Time ticked by, second by second. Night fell and Sylvia Vance set off a citywide fireworks display for Ethan Miller. She called me out. "Shawn, after I have this fake marriage with Ethan tomorrow, we can finally be together properly." I thought of the countless times she had helped me, even saved me. I opened my mouth. "I'm sorry, I won't be with you." The rest of the words remained unspoken. My brother Ryan called out to Sylvia, "Sister-in-law, come quickly, we're going to start the post-wedding revelry early." "Post-wedding revelry?" Sylvia replied to him, "Got it." Then she looked at me. "You won't what?" I gave a bitter smile. "Nothing, go have fun." Sylvia squeezed my cold hand. "After the wedding tomorrow, everything will be over." With that, she turned and left. I watched her retreating figure. Yes, everything was over. Fireworks bloomed one after another. Everyone had gone to Ethan Miller's room. I walked into the villa alone and glanced at the time on my phone. 7:15 p.m. 1 hour and 45 minutes left. First, I took a long, clean shower. Looking at myself in the mirror, my body was covered in scars, remnants from prison. Then I changed into the cleanest, most expensive set of clothes I owned from all these years, waiting for the state to come and pick me up. The final hour of the countdown. I glanced around the house I had lived in for so many years. The storeroom wasn't small, but I didn't own many things. A few worn-out clothes, a few pairs of old shoes, a quilt a servant no longer wanted, a battered old diary on the desk, and next to the diary, the only ornament, a photo frame. First, I threw away my useless clothes, shoes, and the quilt. Then, I walked to the desk, picked up the photo frame. Inside was a group photo of the Sylvia and Miller families, taken 12 years ago when I had just returned to the Miller house. My parents, my brother, my adopted brother Ethan, and Sylvia Vance were all in it. This photo held all my love, but now I took it out of the frame, tore it into pieces, and threw it into the trash can. Finally, I looked at the diary I had started writing when I came to the Miller house at 15. I opened the first page. December 3, 2012, Sunny. I returned to my home, saw my dad, my mom. Dad is so handsome, Mom is so beautiful, and my 2 younger brothers are also very handsome. I'm so happy, I have parents and brothers too. Flipping further, March 1, 2013, overcast. Didn't get the tuition fee today, don't know how to tell the teacher. Mom and Dad must have their reasons. I need to earn money myself, can't add to Mom's burden. June 7, 2013, Sunny. I saved up 3 months of part-time earnings to buy a watch, but my 3rd brother didn't like it. I'll earn more money in the future and buy him more expensive gifts. Further and further, to the last page, the day before I went to prison. December 1, 2017, rainy. There was only one sentence on it. They don't love me at all. At this very moment, my eyes couldn't help but moisten. I couldn't resist picking up a pen and writing on the last page. This time, I used French. December 10, 2024, light snow. I'm leaving Mom, Dad. Before I go, I really can't help but ask you, since you both dislike me, why did you go to such lengths to advertise in newspapers to find me back then? Is it really as some people say, that there's no affection for a child you didn't raise yourself? But why, when I see some parents find their children, they are so incredibly happy? They say when parents find their biological child, it's also when they lose them again. But I might be an exception. Being found by my parents was when I truly lost my parents. I poured out all the confusion and unwillingness I had harbored over the years. Ryan Miller, you said you only wanted Ethan Miller as your brother. Today, I will grant your wish. From now on, you will only have one brother. Finally, I wrote to Sylvia Vance. Sylvia, you said to wait for you, that after your fake marriage with Ethan, we could be together again. I'm sorry, this time I won't wait for you. I wish you and Ethan happiness. Lastly, I'm gone. Let's not meet again in the future. After writing everything, I placed the diary on the table. Then, I put the medical report from my time in prison on top of the diary. The report clearly showed that I only had one kidney. After doing all this, it was already 9 o'clock. Carrying the faded cloth bag, I limped out of the Miller house. Behind me, the Miller house was brightly lit, with everyone clamoring for the post-wedding revelry. And in front of me, a line of black, bulletproof cars waited quietly. Without hesitation, I walked towards my future. The vehicles drove away from this bustling street, disappearing forever into the night. Chapter 9: The Miller House. Still brightly lit, filled with laughter. The next morning, the sound of ceremonial cannons echoed through the sky. This also symbolized the beginning of Ethan Miller and Sylvia Vance's wedding. Marcus and Alina Miller were beaming with joy, their tailored suits and gowns adorned with delicate roses on the chest. Sylvia Vance was discussing with her bridesmaids where to hide the wedding shoes so Ryan Miller couldn't find them. At this moment, Alina Miller looked around but didn't see Shawn Miller. She couldn't help frowning. "Ryan, where's your older brother? Why hasn't he shown up yet? Is he going to be late for his own brother's wedding? Who taught him such manners?" Ryan casually replied, "He probably doesn't want to see Big Sis V marry second bro M after all. He's liked her for so many years." Alina Miller became even more displeased upon hearing this. "Mrs. Peterson, go get Shawn Miller if he's not here. People will start gossiping about the Miller family and Ethan again." The servant nodded and was about to go when Ryan stopped her. "You go set up the garden. The bridal procession will be here soon. I'll go get Big Bro M." He paused, then asked, "Which room is Big Bro M staying in?" "The storeroom," Mrs. Peterson replied. "What?" Not just Ryan, but everyone present was stunned. Marcus Miller asked in confusion, "Why would Shawn be living in the storeroom?" Mrs. Peterson lowered her eyes. When young Master Shawn first came to the Miller house, it was all very sudden, and no room was arranged. Mrs. Miller said he could stay in the storeroom temporarily. This temporarily had lasted for 12 years. Hearing this, Alina Miller couldn't help but frown. "I had intended to prepare a new room for him, but somehow I forgot. Why didn't he take the initiative to tell me? I'm his biological mother. Would I mistreat him? I really don't know who he takes after with that personality, not like me at all." Ethan Miller, dressed in a custom-made suit, wearing an expensive limited edition watch and sitting comfortably on the sofa, spoke up. "Our Miller family's storeroom is still better than him wandering around outside. It shouldn't be a problem for Big Bro M to live there, right?" Hearing this, Ryan instinctively felt something was off, but he didn't say anything. He frowned and walked to the storeroom at the end of the hallway. As he pushed open the door, countless fine dust particles floated in the air. Ryan immediately took a step back. He covered his nose and walked in. Densely packed discarded items nearly filled the entire dark and cramped storeroom. Shawn Miller's bed was next to a row of shelves crammed with things. To call it a bed was an overstatement. It was actually a thin wooden plank placed on several buckets. And next to the bed was a large water tank, on which sat a dilapidated table lamp, a diary, and a stack of papers. This was all Shawn Miller had in the Miller family for so many years. Ryan was so shocked he couldn't speak, even forgetting to cover his nose. He never imagined his own brother would live in such a dilapidated place. This was the Miller family, Shawn Miller's own home. The storeroom was so small it didn't require much looking. Shawn Miller wasn't here, but if not here, where else could he be? Ryan felt a bit strange. He walked towards the water tank, which was perhaps Shawn Miller's desk. "Mom, Dad," Ryan called out to Marcus and Alina. He picked up the diary and the stack of medical reports, ranging from old to new. "Big Bro M isn't here, but he left these." Just as Marcus was about to examine them, Sylvia Vance's voice, arriving for the bridal pickup, came from outside. "He's probably just throwing a tantrum and went out. I don't know who spoiled him with such bad habits." "Ryan, come out. Your sister-in-law is here to pick up your second brother," Alina said first. Marcus had no choice but to follow her out, leaving Ryan standing there alone. Sylvia Vance stood in the living room holding a bouquet, her face showing no joy of an impending marriage. She scanned the room, didn't see Shawn Miller, and frowned. "Where's Shawn?" Ethan, seeing her first question was about Shawn Miller, was somewhat displeased. He feigned grievance. "Sylvia, Big Bro M probably didn't want to see us get married, so he ran off. Don't blame him." Alina also chimed in, "Sylvia, it's our fault for not educating Shawn properly. Don't take it to heart." Hearing this, a faint anger stirred in Sylvia's heart. Didn't they say it was just a fake marriage? Why couldn't Shawn Miller get his head around it? She took out her phone and sent a message to Shawn Miller's social media. "Why are you being so inconsiderate? Where did you go?" Chapter 10. Once the message was sent, it was like a stone dropped into the ocean. Sylvia Vance stood there waiting for a long time, but Shawn Miller didn't reply. Her expression grew increasingly grim. Ryan Miller, who had walked out, looked at the tense atmosphere and couldn't help but clutch the diary and medical reports tighter. He had only skimmed through the reports, but it was enough to be shocking. How could Shawn Miller's health be so poor, and why did he only have one kidney? But recalling Shawn Miller's actions from childhood to adulthood, Ryan felt it necessary to verify the authenticity of these reports. He didn't hand these things over. Instead, he called a trusted assistant and asked him to privately investigate what had happened to Shawn Miller in prison over the past 7 years. "Sylvia, what are you still waiting for? Aren't you here to pick me up for the wedding?" It was Ethan Miller who finally broke the suffocating silence. He walked over to Sylvia Vance and linked his arm with hers. If Big Broem left, he left. He's an adult, he won't be in any danger out there. Hearing this, Ryan and Marcus frowned. Ethan Miller truly didn't care about Shawn Miller at all. Sylvia said coldly, "Let's skip the other procedures. A fake marriage doesn't need to go that far. Ethan, you just wanted to walk into a church with me in a suit. Let's go directly now." "Sylvia," Ethan stomped his foot. Sylvia simply withdrew her hand and walked out of the Miller house first. The church. Because it was a fake marriage, Sylvia Vance hadn't invited any guests. Apart from the Miller family and a priest, there was no one else in the church. "This isn't what I imagined at all." Seeing the desolate wedding scene, Ethan Miller finally erupted. "Sylvia," he cried, his face streaked with tears, "Shawn Miller left, so what? You still have me, don't you? Am I not better than that uncultured guttersnipe? Besides, he's been to prison. How is he worthy of you?" Sylvia was somewhat impatient, and also flustered by Shawn Miller's disappearance. "Ethan, you attempted suicide by jumping off the roof, and that's why I agreed to this fake marriage with you. Now I've done what I was supposed to do, your wish has been fulfilled, and I need to go find Shawn." Then, she looked at Ethan. "And don't you forget, Shawn went to prison for you." As her words fell, everyone present froze. No one expected Sylvia Vance to bring this up at such a moment. At this point, Ethan Miller pulled out a knife and held it to his neck. "I don't care, Sylvia, how am I inferior to Shawn Miller? Why do you like him and not me? Have you forgotten that when you were injured years ago, it was me who gave you one of my kidneys?" Alina Miller was scared out of her wits by this scene. She rushed to snatch the knife from Ethan's hand. "Ethan, don't do anything foolish. Mom is here. Mom will talk to Sylvia for you. Don't come over." Ethan swung the knife forward, instantly slashing Alina's arm. He murmured, "Mom, all I want is Sylvia. Why can't I have my wish? It's all Shawn Miller's fault. All Shawn Miller's fault. Damn him, Shawn Miller should die." Hysterical curses echoed through the church, and the scene instantly descended into chaos. This farce ended with police cars and an ambulance arriving at the church. Sylvia Vance was also injured while trying to snatch the knife from Ethan Miller's hand. At this moment, she was sitting in the ambulance, paramedics bandaging her wound. But Sylvia seemed oblivious to the pain, constantly calling and messaging Shawn Miller. "Shawn, my fake marriage with Ethan is over. Where are you? Don't be angry anymore. Can I come find you? I only did these things because he's your brother. Wasn't I helping you too? I just wanted to make things a little easier for you in the Miller family, to make your parents like you more." But no matter how many messages she sent, Shawn Miller didn't reply. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Alina Miller, disregarding the wound on her arm, instructed the doctor, "My son has depression and is missing a kidney. He has suffered a lot already. Please be gentle when you suture his wound. He's terrified of pain." Seeing her so worried, a nearby nurse couldn't help but stop and take off her mask. "Ma'am, I understand your feelings as a mother, but we've already conducted a preliminary examination on this gentleman. He's in good health, and he's not missing a kidney as you described. You don't need to worry too much." Chapter 11, What did you say? Marcus Miller, who was supporting Alina Miller, frowned slightly. The nurse thought she hadn't heard clearly, so she patiently repeated, "Mr. Miller's body, apart from the superficial wound on his neck, has no other issues, and he certainly isn't missing a kidney as this lady mentioned. You two can rest assured, after his wound is treated, Mr. Miller can go home with you." "How is that possible?" Varying degrees of confusion and shock appeared on Marcus and Alina Miller's faces. In the end, it was Alina who reacted first. She grabbed Marcus's hand. "Honey, we can't tell Sylvia about this for now. If Sylvia finds out, she'll definitely question Ethan, and Ethan can't handle any more agitation right now." Marcus maintained a sliver of clear-headed rationality. He said gravely, "Have you ever considered if Ethan has 2 kidneys, then who donated a kidney to Sylvia back then?" In a flash, the same name crossed both Marcus and Aliner's minds. That forgotten, neglected biological son. Shawn Miller. Impossible, Aliner denied instinctively. Marcus, however, frowned, looking at the unconscious Ethan. He suddenly felt that perhaps he had never truly understood this son he had doted on for 25 years. Until Ethan was wheeled into the hospital room, Marcus and Aliner didn't say another word. They both saw the wavering in each other's eyes. Miller Corporation, CEO's office. 2 hours ago, Ryan Miller had returned to the company alone from the church. As the prospective heir to Miller Corporation, it was incredibly easy for Ryan to investigate anything. The assistant was very efficient. Half an hour ago, he had printed out the information he found and delivered it. Apart from the medical reports and records that were largely similar to what Shawn had left behind, the assistant had even obtained 2 video recordings. One was of Shawn Miller and Sylvia Vance entering the operating room for a kidney transplant. The other was of Shawn Miller being beaten and tortured by other inmates in prison. The footage was blurry, and the camera angle wasn't good. It was clear that it was just prison surveillance footage that had unintentionally captured it. Ryan's eyes reddened as he watched. That was his biological older brother, even if he disliked him as a child, even if his actions towards their second brother were bad. That was still his own flesh and blood, his full-blooded older brother. How could Shawn Miller be bullied like this in prison? Why did these people dare to bully the eldest young master of the Miller family? Hadn't Big Sis V and their parents already made arrangements with the prison? And why did Shawn Miller look so frail and fragile? Hadn't he and Big Sis V sent many things to him in prison through intermediaries? One question after another swirled in Ryan's mind. He called his assistant again. "Investigate, keep investigating for me. Why did these people assault the eldest young master of the Miller family? Who gave them the nerve?" "Yes, young Mr. Miller." The assistant nodded and quickly left to carry out the order. After the assistant left, Ryan slumped into his chair, dejected. Shawn Miller was missing a kidney, had a lame leg, and his body was covered in scars, some deep, some shallow, that hadn't faded over the years. Ryan closed his eyes. The image of the storeroom he had seen at home that morning, where Shawn had lived for 12 years, flashed in his mind. After a long while, he opened his eyes. He looked at the old, cheap diary. Ryan suddenly felt it was like a Pandora's box. Inside, there might be many things that would overturn his thoughts from all these years, like the thick stack of medical reports and records in front of him. As if mustering all his courage, Ryan finally opened the first page of the diary. December 13, 2012, Sonny. I don't know why, but I feel like Mom, Dad, and my brothers aren't very happy about me coming home, especially that brother named Ethan. The way he looks at me is a bit strange, but I'm probably just overthinking it. I'll try my best to integrate into this family, to be a good son, a good brother. Another 2 hours passed. Ryan finally reached the last page of the diary. When he saw the page full of French, he could no longer maintain his composure. Shawn Miller actually knew French then. At the Miller house, all those things he, his parents, and his second brother had said, hadn't he understood them all, seeing the sentence? "From now on, you will only have one brother." Ryan's hand holding the diary couldn't help but tremble. He suddenly realized Shawn Miller wasn't throwing a tantrum, nor was he trying to get anyone's attention. He had truly left, truly abandoned this home where loved ones weren't loved ones. And family wasn't family. Chapter 12, Ryan Miller couldn't process everything he had seen in such a short time. If he had doubted the authenticity of those reports in the morning, after reading this diary, he was thoroughly shaken. Could it be that what he had seen with his own eyes all these years wasn't true? Had Ethan Miller hidden himself so well, so deeply? Ryan suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. He took out his phone, wanting to call Sylvia Vance, because Shawn Miller's diary had a specific passage dedicated to her. But just as he was about to dial, Ryan hesitated. Big Sis V loved Big Bro M. Now that Big Bro M was gone, if she saw these things, she would surely fly into a rage, losing all rationality. After much deliberation, Ryan decided to go to the hospital first. Some words, some matters. were better clarified and handled by the Miller family themselves first. It was already close to 8 p.m., so Ryan would go the next morning. Meanwhile, the Vance villa, Sylvia Vance kept dialing Shawn Miller's phone number. At first, it was no answer. Then it changed to "this number is no longer in service." Clearly, Shawn Miller had canceled this number. This discovery made Sylvia increasingly flustered. She vaguely felt that she had lost something very important, something she could never possess again. Sylvia looked at the unresponsive chat window on her messaging app, her face completely icy. She dialed her special assistant's number. "Use all your connections to find him for me. No matter the cost, even if you have to turn the entire capital city upside down, find Shawn's whereabouts for me." After ending the call, Sylvia sat in the desolate darkness, unable to calm down for a long time. A sleepless night. The next morning at 8 o'clock, Ryan Miller rushed to the hospital where the Miller family members were, but he was told by a nurse, "Mr. and Mrs. Miller took Mr. Miller home early this morning." Helpless, Ryan could only return home. The Miller residence had been restored to its state before the wedding, but the servants all looked miserable. Upon seeing Ryan, it was as if they had seen a savior. "Third young master, you have to go see second young master is crying and throwing a tantrum, insisting on burning down eldest young master's room." Hearing this, Ryan frowned deeply. "Ryan, you're back quickly. Try to persuade your second brother." Outside the storeroom, Eleanor Miller's eyes were red, clearly having just cried. Ryan didn't speak, just took out the diary. "Mom, Dad, I want you to first look at the diary Big Bro M left behind." He flipped to the last page. Big Bro M knows French. All those hurtful things we said before, he understood them all. As his words fell, Marcus and Eleanor froze. "How could that be?" Eleanor whispered. "He never learned anything, never showed any sign." Marcus, however, took the diary and began to read it, word by word. Ryan pursed his lips and turned towards the storeroom. That was also Big Bro M's room. Ethan had already destroyed most of the things inside, although Shawn hadn't left much behind. Looking at his crazed state, Ryan frowned. "Second Bro M, the person who donated a kidney to Big Sis V back then, it wasn't you, was it?" As soon as these words were spoken, Ethan, who was wildly smashing things, froze. Seeing his reaction, Ryan felt a part of his heart suddenly collapse. A person's instinctive reaction cannot be faked. Realizing he had truly wronged Shawn Miller so much in the past, Ryan's gaze towards Ethan was now filled with disappointment. "Second Bro M, how many things have you lied to us about? Why did you intercept the living expenses Mom and Dad had the finance department send to Big Bro M? Why did you arrange for people to torture Big Bro M in prison? Why did you lie and say you donated a kidney to Big Sis V?" A series of 3 whys instantly extinguished Ethan's frenzied outburst. He looked at Ryan. "Little Bro M, what are you talking about?" At this moment, Marcus and Eleanor, having finished reading the diary, also walked over. "Yes, Ryan, what are these questions? We don't understand what you mean." Ryan sighed and took out the medical reports and records from his bag. He then took out his phone and called his assistant. "Bring those people in." 5 minutes later, the assistant walked in with a prison guard, someone from Miller Corporation's finance department, and a fierce-looking man. But what no one expected was Sylvia Vance, her face like ice, entered at the same time. She glanced around at the Miller family, her gaze finally settling on Ethan Miller. "I believe, as Shawn's fiancée, I also have the right to know the truth." Chapter 13. Hearing this sentence, Ethan Miller, who had been struggling to maintain his composure, turned deathly pale. His lips trembled slightly. "Sylvia, what truth? I don't understand what you all are talking about today." "Second Bro M, are you still refusing to tell us the truth?" Ryan raised his voice slightly. His eyes were full of disappointment. "How many things have you falsely accused Big Bro M of over the years? How many times have you made Big Bro M take the blame for you? Do you really need me to spell it out, one thing at a time?" As his words fell, Ethan stumbled back a step, nearly collapsing onto the floor. His eyes were red, maintaining his usual pitiful demeanor. "Ryan, I'm your second brother. How can you talk to me like this?" "Ha," Ryan sneered. "Then have you forgotten that Shawn Miller is my older brother, my biological older brother?" As his words fell, Ethan's face grew even paler. Perhaps the words biological had stung him. He began to clutch his chest, frowning, looking as if he couldn't breathe. Enough, Ryan, are you trying to drive your second brother to his death? Seeing Ethan's pale and fragile state, Eleanor's maternal instincts flared. Ryan was incredulous. Mom, you're still defending him. Do you know how many wrong things he's done? Do you even know who your real son is? He took out the medical reports. Big Bro M only has one kidney. 7 years ago, it was him who matched with Big Sis V and underwent the transplant surgery. Big Bro M was in prison for 7 years, critically ill several times, all from being beaten. Big Bro M was in the Miller family for 12 years, and none of us loved him or cared for him. Instead, we blamed and detested him because of Second Bro M's one-sided story. But Second Bro M's depression was faked. Everything was faked. At this point, Ryan produced the most damning evidence against Ethan. A medical report proving he had 2 kidneys, and a psychological evaluation proving his mental state was normal. Just then, Sylvia Vance, who had been observing coldly from the side, finally spoke. Ryan, give me Shawn's medical reports. Ryan's hand trembled as he handed the medical reports to Sylvia. Ethan completely collapsed to the floor. Critical illness notices, X-rays, CT scans, and some scattered pathology photos. One after another, the further she read, the more shocking it became, and Sylvia's expression grew darker. There was even a full-body photo of Shawn Miller. Arms, abdomen, back, thighs, any exposed skin was covered in wounds, some deep, some shallow. Those were inflicted by beatings and torture in prison. The usually icy Sylvia Vance's expression changed when she saw these wounds. Almost instantly, she walked towards Ethan Miller. Looking down at him, her eyes were filled with a sinister glint. Tell me, what did you do to Shawn? The once elegant Sylvia Vance had completely lost her composure at this moment. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her heart felt as if it had been torn into countless pieces. Ethan Miller, why did you do this to him? Seeing that he could no longer hide it, Ethan gave a tragic smile. He looked at the stunned Eleanor. Mom, it hurts so much. But the next second, Ryan stepped in front of Eleanor, blocking her view entirely. Until everything is clear, don't play the victim with Mom anymore. For so many years, you've used Mom's soft heart, used her love for you, to make her continuously hurt her own biological son. Ryan closed his eyes, thinking about how the Miller family had treated Shawn over the years. You have such a cruel heart. Have you ever thought that your actions would make us live in regret and pain for the rest of our lives? Ethan, however, did not answer. He looked at Marcus. Dad, haven't you always doted on me the most? Hearing this, Marcus clutched the diary tightly and averted his gaze. In an instant, Ethan knew he had lost all leverage to continue, playing innocent. He said lightly, I wanted Shawn Miller dead, that's all. Ethan. Miller, Sylvia's voice sounded as if it were squeezed from her throat. Her face was as dark as a demon from hell. Tell me what you did? Ethan, terrified, was just about to speak. Just then, Marcus's voice sounded. Sylvia, I will give you an explanation, but before that, please read what Shawn left for you. Hearing this, the murderous aura around Sylvia lessened somewhat. She numbly took the diary and turned to the last page. Shawn Miller's neat handwriting came into view. I'm sorry, this time I won't wait for you. I wish you and Ethan happiness. Lastly, I'm gone. Let's not meet again in the future. Looking at the date, December 10, 2024. So, on the day she and Ethan had publicly kissed, Shawn Miller had already been utterly disappointed and decided to leave, and she not only hadn't noticed anything, but had arrogantly believed that she and Shawn still had a future. Sylvia clutched the diary to her heart, pain like a blizzard sweeping through her entire body. In full view of everyone, this renowned ice queen of Capital City, a woman who could command the winds and rains, showed a look of utter heartbreak. And in the suffocating silence, they clearly saw a tear of regret streaked down Sylvia Vance's face. Chapter 14, Sylvia, listen to my explanation, I didn't mean it. Ethan Miller was already crying pitifully, but Sylvia Vance was no longer moved. You didn't mean it, so who did? Shawn Miller or me? The anger of being deceived and the remorse for neglecting Shawn Miller simultaneously overwhelmed Sylvia. Her heart ached terribly. She no longer had her past tenderness for Ethan. Ethan, I don't understand, why did you do this? Sylvia frowned, looking at Ethan. You clearly have everything. The Miller family all favored you, they all thought Shawn was an outsider. Even when he came back, it didn't affect your status at all. "And what about you? Did he not affect you?" Seeing that nothing he said worked, Ethan simply stopped pretending. "Sylvia, when Shawn Miller came back, did he really not affect you, not affect my place in your heart?" Ethan looked at Sylvia with eyes full of desolation. This question was like a blow to the head. Sylvia was instantly stunned. Seeing her reaction, Ethan curved his lips in a self-deprecating smile. "See, as soon as I said it, you realized. After Shawn Miller came back, Mom and Dad didn't change, but you did. At first, I believed you just found him novel, a fresh curiosity. But later, the way you looked at him started to change." Ethan's tone became filled with hatred. "Sylvia, when Shawn Miller squeezed between us, when your scales tipped towards him bit by bit, and you didn't even notice, how could I not lose my balance? How could I not hate him?" Large tears streamed down Ethan's face. Watching him so easily captivate you, I felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. If you, who had the most contact with him, unknowingly sided with him, then would Mom, Dad, and little bro do the same? So I had to make him leave, make him disappear from our sight. But just disappearing wasn't enough. I had to destroy his image in all your hearts. I had to turn him into a villain, into a heinous criminal. Hearing this, Sylvia's disbelief gradually turned into disappointment. "Ethan, when did you become like this? Haha, how did I become like this?" Ethan both cried and laughed, as if merely repeating Sylvia's words, or perhaps asking himself. He suddenly looked up, almost screaming, "Isn't it all because of that gutter snipe Shawn Miller? Why did he have to come back? As soon as he came back, you changed his existence only served to constantly remind me that I'm an imposter, that I'm a bona fide clown." "Second bro how could you think like that?" Ryan Miller spoke up. "Mom, Dad, and I have always been on your side, but how could you do this?" His eyes instantly reddened. "Mom, Dad, and I trusted you so much, treated you so well. How could you be this kind of person?" It's unclear which word provoked Ethan. He looked at his injured younger brother, and instead of feeling guilt, a strange sense of elation surged within him. A thrill of having everyone wrapped around his finger. Ethan wiped the tears from his face. Then he curled his lips. "I've always been this kind of person. I'm not like you Millers, all so foolish, all so kind. I was born bad. Are you satisfied now?" "No one ever said you weren't a Miller," Ryan raised his voice. "Even when Shawn came back, we still treated you as our closest family. And he never even thought about taking anything from you. How could you be like this?" Ryan looked at the pale but still handsome brother before him. This was because the Miller and Vance families had nurtured him well for so many years. Ryan couldn't help but think of the first time he saw Shawn Miller at the Miller residence a month ago. Emaciated, gasping for breath, as if he could die at any moment. That turned out to be his real brother. The real brother whom they had collectively caused to be imprisoned for 7 years, suffering endlessly. Ryan walked towards Ethan. "How can a person be as greedy as you? While you were living in luxury in the Miller house, Shawn was wandering outside, homeless. You already had so much, and when he came back, you still had to harm him like this." He gave a bitter smile. "Our family is truly foolish. For your sake, Mom and Dad didn't want their biological son, and I didn't want my biological brother. We are truly so foolish." Chapter 15. Listening to these words, a fine, dense pain spread through Sylvia Vance's heart. If only time could be turned back, if only she could return to 7 years ago and prevent all of this from happening, but there were no if-onlys in the world. What was done was done. The harm caused couldn't be undone. Slap, a loud slapping sound. Ethan Miller clutched his struck cheek, looking at his father Marcus in disbelief. Marcus's face was grim, his eyes filled with disappointment. In truth, with a myriad of emotions surging through him at that moment, this slap was considered light. "Dad," Marcus looked at Ethan calmly, his tone icy. "You no longer deserve to call me Dad." His eyes reddened. "Didn't you just say it? You're not a Miller. Since that's the case, what we owe Shawn, we will repay. And of course, what you owe Shawn, you must also repay." The last word landed fiercely. Marcus's heart was too chaotic, too pained. Everyone froze for a moment. Ryan, the first to react, closed his eyes, tears silently streaming down. He looked at Ethan. "You are a thief, a sinner. I will never forgive you in my lifetime." With that, he unhesitatingly left this suffocating home. He even stumbled as he walked out the door, nearly falling. Indeed, anyone would find it unacceptable. The person they had always protected turned out to be the worst of all, And what about the one who had been misunderstood all along? How desperate, how utterly devastated must he have been? Ryan dared not think about it. At this moment, Ethan stood rooted to the spot like a wooden doll, his face alternating between red and white. He actually felt that Ryan's thief just now was heavier than the slap, even more humiliating, making him feel utterly ashamed. Sylvia, he had just started to speak when Sylvia's cold, emotionless gaze silenced him. Sylvia was not only cold in expression, but her tone was also unprecedentedly icy. You don't deserve to call me that anymore. But, just because of this one thing, is there really no room for reconciliation between us? Ethan didn't understand. He and Sylvia had been together since childhood. Just because of Shawn Miller, who appeared out of nowhere, just because he made some mistakes. Was Sylvia going to negate all these years? Didn't you dote on me the most? Why can't you tolerate me making a mistake? Ethan's expression was sincere, as if he genuinely wanted an answer. Sylvia sneered. I see that even now, you still think this mistake you made is just a small thing. Isn't it? Shawn Miller only went to prison for 7 years. He didn't die. Ethan looked completely unfazed. Do you know how much torture he endured in prison? His whole body is covered in injuries. So what? He deserved it. Who asked him to come back? Ethan had nothing left to lose. So what if I faked it? So what if I had people torture him? I just wish he would die, but I couldn't be too obvious, because then the person you all hate and detest would become me. As he spoke, Ethan reached out, wanting to put his arms around Sylvia's neck. Sylvia, only a crack sound was heard, the sound of a bone breaking. Sylvia's eyes were dark as she gripped Ethan's wrist, her force so great it snapped the bone. Ah, Ethan shrieked, clutching his hand. Meanwhile, on the plane, Shawn Miller had just woken from a long dream and opened the sunshade. He stared blankly at the pitch-black sky. Shawn had dreamed of his parents and his younger brother, Ryan Miller, and also of Sylvia Vance, whom he had loved for many years. If only you hadn't come back then, why did you have to make such a mistake? Shawn, I love you the most. It was just a fake marriage with Ethan. They didn't love him, nor did they believe him. Gray, damp, it was an overcast day, and even more so, it was the tears he was fighting back. Fortunately, the announcement for the plane's arrival at its destination sounded at this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this aircraft is scheduled to arrive in Dominica in 5 minutes. The ground temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. The aircraft is now descending. Shawn Miller pushed those somber-colored dreams out of his mind. Looking at the increasingly bright and clear city outside the window, he smiled faintly. Dominica had arrived. He was about to embrace a new life. Chapter 16, Hello, are you Mr. Stark? A girl walked over, holding her phone. She was a head shorter than Shawn Miller, with healthy, wheat-colored skin. When she grinned, her teeth showed very white. I am, are you Andy? Shawn nodded in response. Yes, Andy's smile grew even brighter. The landlady and the people from the institute asked me to pick you up. Seeing Shawn only had a backpack, she didn't reach out to take it but walked alongside him. Of course, Andy maintained a very respectful international social distance. Dominica is an island nation with a population of only about 80,000. But since it's your first time here, the landlady was worried you wouldn't find the place, so she asked me to come. I'm also a tenant, living downstairs from you. Andy explained as she led Shawn out of the small airport. Shawn Miller was an immigrant by passport, and during the application process, one could update their name, and previous names would not be displayed. So now, the name on all his documents was Sterling Stark. Everything about Shawn Miller in Capital City had been completely and utterly erased. Apart from himself, no one else would know that Sterling Stark's past was Shawn Miller. His prison guard friend, Officer Cole, had helped Shawn find the house. It was an attic apartment with a view of the sea and a volcano. Okay, thank you and the landlady. Shawn smiled. As a token of my gratitude, how about I cook you both a Chinese meal tonight? Really? That's great. Andy was so happy she almost jumped. To be honest, the landlady and I haven't had Chinese food in a long time. It's no exaggeration to say that Chinese food is the best in the world, but I can't really handle spicy food. Andy scratched her head, embarrassed. No problem, I can make non-spicy dishes too. Facing this simple, shy girl, Shawn appeared very understanding. That would be absolutely wonderful if you're willing to cook Chinese food 2 or 3 times a week. The landlady would surely be happy to waive a quarter, or even half of the rent, Andy chirped, the small freckles on her face seeming to dance. Shawn's mood lifted watching her. It was just the beginning, but he already felt his new life was full of infinite hope. However, back in Capital City at that time, Sylvia Vance tossed and turned all night. As soon as she closed her eyes, all she could see was the emaciated Shawn Miller. In her dreams, Shawn Miller, his neck still bearing deep bruises, looked at Sylvia coldly. His eyes no longer held any affection, any warmth. Sylvia found this hard to accept. No, it shouldn't be like this. How could Shawn look at her with such an unfamiliar gaze? I know the truth, I know everything about the past, I was wrong. Sylvia spoke first, a person who had never yielded, her apology incoherent even so. But Shawn interrupted her with a cold expression. So, you were wrong, and the 7 years I was slandered and tortured are just written off. He curved his lips. Should I also thank you for your magnanimity? Sylvia froze, an uncontrollable spasm of pain rising in her chest. No, that's not what I meant. I know you've suffered a terrible injustice, but can you give me a chance to atone? Where have you gone? Can you tell me? Atone? Shawn looked as if he'd heard a joke. Would someone like you also atone? His gaze was so cold and filled with disgust. Sylvia Vance, I hate you. I will never forgive you in my lifetime. As if a curse uttered with all his might, Sylvia jolted awake from the dream. The night hadn't even passed yet. It was dawn. Just then her phone suddenly rang. It was Assistant Lee. Sylvia frowned and swiped to answer. Assistant Lee's voice was calm as if he were reporting on work. Miss Vance, young Master Ethan Miller jumped off a building. Chapter 17, Is he dead? Sylvia Vance pressed her temples, only concerned about the outcome of Ethan Miller's jump. Not dead. The firefighters arrived in time. When he jumped, the airbag and an escape slide were already prepared. Besides, young Master Ethan himself didn't intend to die. The last sentence wasn't something Assistant Lee should have said. Realizing his slip of the tongue, he immediately apologized. I'm sorry, Miss Vance. I just couldn't accept what young Master Ethan did to young Master Shawn, so I got a bit emotional. I'll be more careful in the future. It won't happen again. If it were before, Sylvia would undoubtedly have flown into a rage, perhaps even told Assistant Lee to leave immediately. But after knowing the truth, her attitude towards Ethan had undergone a seismic shift. So, Assistant Lee's little slip didn't amount to much. For some reason, Sylvia suddenly recalled the scene when Shawn Miller was first hospitalized after his return. At that time, Shawn had slept for a long time amidst the white pillows and bedding. However long he slept, Sylvia had stood by his bedside, quietly watching him for just as long. At that moment, she clearly felt so much pity, so much tenderness. Sylvia remembered a thin layer of condensation forming on the glass window then. Shawn Miller, startled awake from a nightmare, suddenly smiled gently. Sylvia, do you remember? The first time we met, it was a snowy day just like this. Thinking of this, Sylvia gave a bitter smile. How she wished she could travel back in time to that day, to hold Shawn tightly. To tell him, I remember, of course I remember. I will never forget anything about you. She looked out the window. Tonight, Capital City was still snowing. Miss Vance, the car has arrived at the parking lot. The Miller family's side hopes you'll pay a visit. Assistant Lee's voice sounded again. The call had apparently never been disconnected. In the end, Sylvia Vance still went to West Mountain Sanatorium. But as soon as she reached the hospital room, Ethan Miller scrambled and lunged towards her. Tears and snot streamed down his face. Sylvia, how could you do this to me? Ethan's tearful accusation sounded very familiar to Sylvia. In her flickering dreams, the gaunt Shawn Miller had once questioned her in the same way. Sylvia, how could you do this to me? Did Shawn cry then? Did he shed tears? No, Sylvia carefully recalled during those few hazy seconds. From their first meeting at the prison gate after 7 years to their last meeting at the Miller house, Shawn Miller had never shed a tear in front of her. Ethan! Sylvia looked down at Ethan, who had become haggard and pale in just one night. A faint, almost imperceptible curve played on her lips. I haven't even started doing anything to you yet. This short sentence made Ethan feel as if he had plunged into an ice cellar, and he immediately stopped crying. Sylvia, he tremblingly raised a pair of tearful eyes. Ethan, I had assistant Lee check Shawn Miller's medical records from Redwood Penitentiary for the past 7 years. I also received many orders, supposedly from me, such as to disfigure Shawn's face or to let him die unnoticed in solitary confinement or places like that. Sylvia quietly met Ethan's gaze. Did you do these things too? Ethan bit his trembling lip and slowly squeezed out one word. Yes. Hearing this word, Sylvia's heart sank completely. She finally understood why Shawn Miller would occasionally react so strangely. Was he afraid of experiencing violence again? Because for those 7 years, every prisoner who beat and humiliated him would say, "Someone outside wants you dead." "Sylvia, I'll change. Where is Shawn Miller? I'll kneel down and apologize to him, okay?" Seeing Sylvia's increasingly cold expression, Ethan couldn't help but clasp his hands together and beg for mercy. Kneel and apologize. What good would kneeling and apologizing do? No one knew where Shawn was now. No one could make up for the harm done to him. Sylvia suddenly curved her lips into a smile, her heart and throat filled with bitterness. Her heart ached so much, she wished she could travel back in time and kill her 7 years younger, deluded self. "Sylvia," seeing Sylvia remain silent, Ethan grew increasingly apprehensive and fearful. "Ethan, you will atone for your sins slowly." Chapter 18. At this moment, Marcus Miller, Eleanor Miller, and their son Ryan Miller all arrived. Looking at the son she had once doted on, now a tear-streaked mess, Eleanor couldn't describe her current feelings. Ryan had already told them everything yesterday. Eleanor had fainted several times, and Marcus, who had quit smoking for over a decade, sat aside, looking defeated, and lit a cigarette. "Ethan, why did you do this?" After learning the truth, everyone would ask Ethan these 3 words. Why? Hadn't he already received so much that Shawn Miller never had? Ethan fell silent for a moment. He looked at Eleanor, Marcus, and Ryan. Ethan suddenly gave a tragic smile. "What does over a decade of nurturing and love matter? He's the one related to you by blood." For so many years, it was the word blood that had confined him. Some things are innate in blood ties, and blood ties are the most impossible to defeat. "You fool!" Eleanor beat her chest. "And you're not the only fool. Wrong, we were all wrong." Things having come to this, Eleanor's heart was like dead water. She looked at Sylvia. "What about him? Have you sent anyone to look for him?" Eleanor beat her chest, regret and pain torturing her. Marcus and Ryan's faces weren't looking good either. Clearly, they too had suffered sleepless nights. "That's my son, my biological son. I actually drove him away. How disappointed he must be with me, how much he must hate me. When I gave birth to him, I cherished him so much. When he got lost, I wished I could die. Why did I treat him like this? I'm truly not human. I don't deserve to be a mother." Eleanor sobbed uncontrollably. Marcus supported her, remaining silent. After a long while, he finally spoke. "Sylvia, Ryan and I have already mobilized all of Miller Corporation's connections to find Shawn. I know you're also very anxious. You're also looking for him. Consider this my request, my plea. If there's any news, could you let me know?" As he spoke, Marcus was about to bow. Sylvia stopped him. "Mr. Miller, finding Shawn is what I should do." Good, thank you. If there's any news, please be sure to inform the Miller family. We owe him, and we must repay it. Whether he accepts it or not, whether he forgives or not, we must repay it," Eleanor murmured. From beginning to end, Marcus and Eleanor hadn't looked at Ethan again. "Big Sis V, our Miller family's stance is that those who do wrong must be punished." Ryan supported the almost collapsing Eleanor, his eyes still red. Ethan Miller brought this upon himself. Let the law take its course. At this, Ethan finally couldn't hold back. He shouted, "No, Mom, Dad, little bro M, how can you do this to me? My surname is Miller. I'm your family for these past 20-odd years. Didn't you love me? How can you do this to me? Sylvia, I beg you. I'm willing to apologize to Shawn Miller. I can kneel and kowtow." Ethan had lost all semblance of composure. He knelt, trying to reach for Sylvia's trouser leg, but Sylvia ruthlessly took a step back. Ethan then tried to grab Marcus and Eleanor, but they too retreated. Even the usually soft-hearted Eleanor didn't waver this time. She looked at this adopted son she had doted on for over 20 years, utterly disappointed. "Ethan, it's no use begging anyone now. What goes around comes around. You've enjoyed Shawn's life for so many years. Now it's time to give it back to him. None of us will indulge you any longer. You must pay the price for your actions. Chapter 19, What Did That Mean? Hearing this sentence, Ethan Miller's mind went blank, yet he was filled with an unprecedented panic. Ryan, Mom, Ethan lunged towards the Miller family members, attempting to grab one of their hands. Unfortunately, he missed. Ryan, supporting a leaner, subtly avoided him. How can you do this to me? I can't go to prison. Why should I go to prison? Ethan couldn't stop shaking his head, his pleading gaze turning to Marcus. Dad, say something, Dad. In the past, Marcus had always doted on him the most. A little pouting, a few tears, and there was nothing he wouldn't agree to. Enough, Marcus rebuked. The family could tolerate your minor mistakes in the past, but now you've committed such a heinous act against your own brother, using our family's love for you to manipulate us. Why bother with this hypocrisy now? Marcus's face was filled with anger, his eyes with disappointment. After Shawn Miller returned, we never treated you unfairly just because he was our biological son. We even neglected him, fearing you'd be unhappy. Yet you were still not satisfied and committed such a disgraceful act. Marcus had navigated the business world for decades, only to be deceived in his old age by the son he had raised for 27 years. At this moment, he was almost consumed by rage. Since you've already shown such disloyalty and injustice, our Miller family will consider you no longer our son. These 27 years of time, energy, will consider it all fed to the dogs. With that, Marcus said gravely, go tell Mr. Jeeves to throw all his things out. The Miller family no longer has this person, Ethan Miller. Ethan froze. Perhaps he hadn't expected Marcus to be so ruthless. Haha, so now it's all my fault. You don't care about your own son, your own brother, you don't trust them, and it's all my fault, is it? It's clearly you who were blind and deluded, you who were foolish. You deserve it. Shawn Miller deserves it too, Ethan shouted. Slap, a heavy slap landed on Ethan's face. This time it was Alina, the one who had always cherished Ethan the most. Her eyes were red. All these years, it was us, as parents, who failed to teach you properly. Now we must atone, and you must atone too. Miss Vance, I'll leave these two matters to you for now. We will also send people to search. We will do what needs to be done. Alina wiped away a tear. Though heartbroken, she pulled herself together. All right, Sylvia said concisely. After the Miller family left, only Sylvia and Ethan remained in the hospital room. I know you don't want to die. Don't even think about using death as a threat or suicide to attract anyone's attention. As you can see, no one is falling for that anymore. Tell me everything you've done to Shawn over the years, clearly and in detail. Sylvia looked at Ethan. I will consider making your time in prison a little easier. Half an hour later, Sylvia walked out of the hospital room. The recording pen held Ethan's confession of all the crimes he had committed against Shawn over the years. Sylvia's heart twisted in agony. She couldn't imagine how Shawn had endured all those years alone. Capital City had been experiencing a lot of snow recently. Sylvia extended her hand, letting the snowflakes melt in her palm. Shawn Miller, where are you now? Sylvia murmured to herself. Dominica. Shawn Miller sat on the open-air balcony, gazing absently at the sparkling sea under the brilliant sunlight. A sea breeze swept by. Shawn stood up, walked into the room, and took out his paints and easel. At the orphanage, he had learned to paint from the director for nearly 10 years, until the director passed away. Those years, though financially tight, were much happier than his time with the Miller family. Just then, his phone showed a new message. It was from his prison guard friend, Officer Cole. Are you doing okay over there? She and they are all looking for you. I'm still keeping my lips sealed. Chapter 20. Thanks, I'm doing very well here. If you have time, you can come visit. There's a beautiful sea and an active volcano that could erupt at any time. I rise with the sun and rest with the sunset, and I feel happiness. Shawn Miller put down his paintbrush and replied to Officer Cole's message. Unexpectedly, Officer Cole, 12 hours ahead, replied instantly, That's great. I'm genuinely happy for you. I just wanted to ask about your recent situation and let you know they're all looking for you. Live well. No need to reply to this. After all, the more said, the more likely a slip-up. Now that Shawn Miller had started a new life, it was best to eliminate all possibilities of being disturbed. That's what Officer Cole thought. Shawn Miller smiled knowingly at the words, no need to reply. How could he not understand Officer Cole's good intentions? During those 7 years in Redwood Penitentiary, if it weren't for Officer Cole's help, Shawn Miller would probably have died 1,000 times over. He remembered Officer Cole had been demoted to Redwood. At that time, the two dejected individuals had found solace in each other, offering precious kindness when the other needed it most. "Wow, Sterling, I didn't know you were so good at painting." The landlady, Mary, came up to the roof to dry fruit and immediately saw Shawn sitting at his easel. Just doodling, not very good. Not modesty, but the truth. Shawn hadn't picked up a paintbrush after returning to the Miller house, let alone during his 7 years in Redwood Penitentiary. "Oh, come on, what's not good about it? I think it's excellent, this sky, this sea, so beautiful. If you have time, paint one for me. I'll hang it in the dining room," the landlady said cheerfully. Faced with such direct praise, Shawn felt a little overwhelmed. "Sterling, no matter what you were like before, now that you're here, it means you're a new person, you can live a new life. Don't always be tied down by the past. If you seem to have let go but haven't really let go of anything, it will be very painful." The landlady's tone was sincere, her time-worn palm gently stroking Shawn's hair. A very light but warm chamomile scent. It seemed to originate from an essential oil the landlady often used. Shawn looked at this Chinese-American woman, over 50 years old, and suddenly felt his eyes sting a little. He had an urge to cry. Yet, for so many years, no matter how great the hardship Shawn had endured, no matter how much pain his body or soul felt, he had never cried. "Sterling, when you're done painting, come downstairs, and I'll make you some fruit tea." The landlady didn't notice Shawn's unusual state and still smiled brightly. "Okay, then let's have hot pot tonight. We'll invite Andy." Shawn curved his lips. He didn't cry. To encounter such good people as the landlady and Andy right at the beginning in unfamiliar Dominica, perhaps fate was finally smiling on him. Moreover, one thing the landlady said had truly struck a chord with him. Since he had chosen to start anew, he shouldn't be entangled by the past, neither in heart nor body. After finishing this painting of the sea and sky merging, Shawn decided to find a tattoo parlor. The scar left on his waist 9 years ago because of Sylvia Vance should no longer fester on his skin and in his body. Shawn carefully sketched a butterfly, wings spread for flight, on the white paper. Then, humming a tune, he headed towards the tattoo parlor indicated by his navigation app. The tattoo artist was a white girl, around 17 or 18, but her skills were surprisingly good. When Shawn saw the butterfly on his waist in the round mirror, it felt as if a long-lasting storm had been stirred in his heart. The blue morpho butterfly, the most beautiful butterfly in the world. From now on, it would replace that winding scar, forever existing on Shawn's waist. Lifelike, as if a dream. "If you need anything else, you can come find me next time. You suit such beauty very well." Chapter 21, Beauty. It had been a long time since Shawn Miller had heard this adjective used to describe him by others. "Thank you. If I need anything, I'll come again. Your skills are excellent, and I'll also recommend friends in need to you." Shawn Miller gave the white girl a bright smile, answering in fluent English. As he walked out of the tattoo parlor, the wind chimes on the revolving glass door made a pleasant tinkling sound. Shawn looked back. It was as if he saw another blurry version of himself waving goodbye. "Goodbye," Shawn said silently. In the life to come, he would only move forward, never looking back. Capital City. Time flew like an arrow, years passed like a shuttle. In the blink of an eye, 6 years had gone by. Sylvia Vance and the Miller family still had no news of Shawn Miller's whereabouts. It seemed that even if the two families had far-reaching influence in Capital City, if a person truly wanted to vanish, they couldn't be found. Moreover, Shawn Miller had been taken away by the National Institute for Classified Scientific Research. Vance Corporation headquarters. Sylvia Vance had visibly lost a lot of weight. Just then, the phone rang. If it rang directly in Sylvia Vance's office, it was either news of Shawn Miller's whereabouts or from the prison. Sylvia prayed it was the former. She pressed her tired temples and answered the phone. "Miss Vance, young Master Ethan Miller's mental state is not very good. He's been acting erratically every day and has now started to injure people. The prison doctor suggests it would be better to send him to a mental hospital. What do you think?" The warden's voice was cautious. "Is it real this time, or is he faking it?" Sylvia was somewhat impatient. After all, 2 years ago, Ethan Miller had gone mad once before. "It's real this time. I had the prison doctor conduct detailed examinations and tests on young Master Ethan," the warden replied. All right, I'll send a car to pick him up. With that, Sylvia quickly hung up. For these 6 years, she had arranged for people in prison to give Ethan Miller special attention. Whatever Shawn Miller had endured before, Ethan Miller endured the same. The Miller family had no objections to this. It was as if, after that day 6 years ago, they had completely given up on Ethan as their son. Human affection could be so thin. Perhaps Shawn Miller would sigh if he knew. Sylvia looked down at the photo on her desk. In the photo, Shawn Miller was pitifully thin, wearing wrinkled clothes, his expression blank. Where on earth are you, Shawn Miller? I know that only when everyone suffers as much as you did can it count as an apology. But if you don't come back, how can I repay what I owe you? Sylvia caressed Shawn Miller's features in the photo, filled with infinite regret, infinite desolation. At that very moment, Shawn Miller had already returned to Capital City. After completing his mission for the National Institute for Classified Scientific Research ahead of schedule, he was allowed to pursue his own endeavors. So, Shawn Miller began to paint for people. This time, he had returned with the renowned art agent, Miss Jade Roberts. In other words, Shawn Miller was now a moderately famous painter. His paintings started at a minimum of $5,000 at international auctions. As soon as he landed in Capital City, Shawn Miller was greeted by Officer Cole, who had come to pick him up. "Haven't seen you in 6 months, you've gotten a bit tanned," Officer Cole teased. "This is a healthy wheat complexion," Shawn Miller argued good-naturedly. Admittedly, he had tanned a bit in the past 6 months. After being discovered by Miss Jade Roberts while selling paintings on the street, he often went out to sea. The sea, the sky, volcanoes, the nature Shawn Miller painted possessed a natural sense of tranquility, both vivid and mysterious. "I have a dinner party to attend tonight. I'll treat you to a meal tomorrow." As they parted, Shawn Miller said to Officer Cole, "All right." Officer Cole was filled with relief. It turned out time was the best medicine. In just a few months, Shawn Miller had completely transformed. Though now, he should be called the great painter, Sterling Stark. Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Sylvia Vance had been invited by a business partner to attend this so-called welcome reception for a rising star in the art world. However, when her eyes met those of the event's protagonist, the champagne flute in her hand suddenly fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Sylvia Vance thought she was hallucinating. Shawn. She stared at Shawn Miller's profile, not daring to blink for even a second. Miss Jade Roberts noticed her gaze. "Sterling, do you know her?" She gestured for Shawn Miller to look at Sylvia Vance. "No, I don't." Shawn Miller frowned, looking Sylvia Vance up and down before answering indifferently. Sylvia instinctively wanted to step forward but managed to restrain herself. "I am Sylvia Vance. You are Shawn Miller. How could we not know each other?" Shawn Miller tilted his chin slightly, exuding an air of noble arrogance. "Miss, you've mistaken me for someone else. My surname is Stark." Chapter 22, the dream from long ago became reality in that instant. Sylvia Vance suddenly felt a chill run through her entire body. Because Shawn Miller's expression was calm, the unfamiliarity in his eyes so natural. "I'm sorry." Sylvia clenched her fists. "Mr. Stark looks so much like an old acquaintance of mine. I mistook you." Anyone would find it amusing. After so many years, the first apology the victim heard was in such a setting. Shawn Miller curved his lips. Towards Sylvia Vance, did he feel hatred? Of course, he had hated her in the past. Hated her for being blind to true worth, for her inability to distinguish right from wrong, hated her for taking his heart, his kidney, yet repaying him with 7 years of a living hell. But all that was in the past. So this apology seemed less important now. "It's all right. Miss Vance's dress is wet. Please allow a waiter to escort you to the dressing room to change." Shawn Miller nodded, expressing his forgiveness with understanding. Then he took Miss Jade Roberts's hand and gracefully glided onto the dance floor. No matter how intensely Sylvia Vance's gaze followed him, he didn't look back. Sylvia Vance, after a long time, it wasn't forgiveness, but rather letting go. At this point, an insurmountable chasm lay between us. Everything irrevocably changed. "I don't hate you, nor will I love you again." Sylvia Vance watched Sterling Stark move with ease and grace among numerous artists and business tycoons. A sharp, intense pain pierced her heart. This was clearly Shawn Miller. The Shawn Miller who cried uncontrollably in her dreams, yet whose expression remained icy. "Why are you pretending not to know me?" Looking at that upright figure, Sylvia Vance murmured to herself. "But it's okay, as long as you're back, as long as you're back." She curved her lips, her mood, which had been gloomy for half a year, brightening considerably at this moment. "Shawn Miller, we have all the time in the world." 2 hours later, the Miller residence. Sylvia Vance had assistant Lee inform the Miller family that Shawn Miller had appeared. "What did you say? You saw Shawn?" Eleanor Miller, upon hearing this news, nearly dropped her teacup. Fortunately, Ryan Miller caught it with quick reflexes. "Big bro M, where is he now? Is he doing well? Is his health okay?" After setting down the teacup, Ryan also couldn't help but ask anxiously. "Young Master Ryan, rest assured, eldest young master is doing very well now. It's just..." Assistant Lee looked troubled, hesitating whether he should tell the Miller family that Shawn Miller was now Sterling Stark. "Just what? Hurry up and say it," Ryan urged. "Eldest young master has changed his name. He now goes by Sterling Stark and is a highly acclaimed rising star in the field of painting." Under the anxious gazes of the Miller family, Assistant Lee still revealed the truth. Eleanor Miller froze. "Painting? I never knew he could paint." As if lost in some memory, her eyes instantly reddened. "Assistant Lee, please wait a moment." After saying this, Eleanor Miller headed towards the bedroom on the second floor. A short while later, Eleanor came down carrying a large bag that seemed to contain drawing paper and a few other items. These were paintings she had done 27 years ago when she was pregnant with Shawn. "Please, if it's possible, help me give these to him. I never gave him a mother's love, never raised him." After he came back, I was even more biased, favoring the person who had usurped his identity since childhood. "I'm not trying to make excuses for myself." At this point, Eleanor was close to sobbing. "It's just that when I was pregnant with him, I truly swore I would love him dearly. These paintings are all ones I did for my unborn child. If he's willing to look at them, he can. If not, he can burn them or throw them away like trash." Eleanor Miller managed a smile. "It was Mom and Dad who were wrong. Mom and Dad don't expect him to forgive, as long as he's well, as long as he's healthy and happy. That's enough." Chapter 23 clearly, before Shawn Miller was even born, Eleanor Miller's hope was simply for her son to be healthy and happy. But why had things turned out this way? That was her own flesh and blood, the son she had carried for 10 arduous months. Why, after Shawn returned, did she find 1,001 faults with him? Why, not only did she fail to love Shawn properly, but she even spoke harshly to him for the sake of another person? Every night after learning the truth, Eleanor would dream of the day Shawn returned to the Miller house after his release from prison. Lifelong regret. "Assistant Lee, I beg you, I implore you, if there's any news about Shawn, please tell me immediately, no matter what. Whatever remuneration you ask for is fine. Whatever Miss Vance pays you, I'll give you double." Eleanor Miller grasped Assistant Lee's hand. Assistant Lee was somewhat alarmed. "You're too kind. This is just the job Miss Vance entrusted to me. Please rest assured." With that, he took his leave. Watching Assistant Lee's retreating figure, Ryan Miller put an arm around Eleanor, comforting her. "Mom, it's okay. Constant dripping wears away a stone, and affection grows over time. As long as we put our hearts into caring for Big Bro M, he'll come home." However, the few people present knew it wouldn't happen. Shawn Miller would not come back. 5 years ago, the old butler, Mr. Jeeves, had shown them surveillance footage of Shawn's first return home after prison, only to be driven away. At the end of the footage, Shawn had kowtowed 3 times, hard, towards the main house. His meaning was already one of utter disappointment, a complete severing of ties. "Don't comfort me, don't comfort yourself. It's our own fault that Shawn is unwilling to come back. How is Ethan doing?" Eleanor patted Ryan's hand. "I heard he was taken to Benevolent Heart Psychiatric Hospital. With his personality, how could he accept his face being ruined and one leg being crippled?" Ryan answered truthfully. "These are all just him getting a taste of his own medicine. Let's just hope he's not feigning madness to escape punishment." Eleanor lowered her eyes, her voice devoid of emotion. The Celestial Residences, Cloud Road No. 8. Shawn Miller took a painkiller and then sat on a yoga mat, massaging and stretching. He had originally thought he would limp for the rest of his life. But in Dominica, Mary and Andy had taken Shawn to see a very authoritative orthopedic specialist. After more than 6 months of conditioning and rehabilitation, unless he was running, it was basically unnoticeable that his leg had once been severely injured. Just then, the doorbell rang. Apart from Miss Jade Roberts and Officer Cole, no one would know Shawn Miller lived here. Unless, Shawn frowned and turned on the video doorbell. A face, excessively beautiful but slightly haggard, appeared on the screen. This face Shawn wanted to forget, yet had never been able to. "It really is you, Sylvia Vance." Shawn's voice, transmitted through the video doorbell's current, reached Sylvia's ears. For some reason, at that instant, Sylvia almost couldn't stop herself from crying. "Shawn, I knew it, you are Shawn. How could you be Sterling Stark? You are the Shawn Miller I've been looking for so long." Hearing this, Shawn abruptly opened the door. "No, I am Sterling Stark." Shawn took out an ID card from his bag in the hallway and displayed it clearly in front of Sylvia Vance. "I am Sterling Stark. Sylvia Vance, the Shawn Miller you've been looking for so long died a long time ago. Have you forgotten? It was you who personally sent him to prison. It was you who personally killed him." Shawn looked coldly at Sylvia Vance. "What are you pretending to be so devoted for now?" Ignoring her dark and unsightly expression, he spoke word by word, each one piercing her heart. "Shawn Miller died long ago. It was you, Ethan Miller, and the Miller family who jointly killed him in prison." At this point, Shawn curved his lips into a smile. "No, he died much earlier. He died many years ago, on the day you chose Ethan Miller." Chapter 24, Sylvia Vance's face turned deathly pale under Shawn Miller's barrage of heart-piercing words. "Shawn, I'm sorry." So, the words "I'm sorry" were so light and meaningless. In just one evening, this was the second time Shawn had heard them from Sylvia's lips. But what good was "I'm sorry"? The harm caused in the past was already irreparable. They had left indelible marks in the passage of time, crying out for unforgiveness. "Sylvia Vance, it's too late. Everything is too late. 7 years ago, I did not beg you to listen to me for just one sentence. Just listen to me for one sentence. Did you listen? 7 years later, you intensified your harm towards me. I said I hoped you would never regret it." Shawn Miller's expression was calm. "Sylvia Vance, do you regret it now?" Regret. Feeling Shawn's icy gaze in her dreams. Being repeatedly tormented by the truth Ethan had personally admitted while awake. Sylvia Vance had done something wrong, had hurt a very important person. How could she not regret it? "Shawn, I know one wrong step leads to many. 7 years ago, I was unforgivable. 7 years later, I was even more grievously wrong. I never thought of asking you to forgive me. I just beg you, give me a chance to atone, okay?" Sylvia Vance's eyes were already red. "No, Sylvia Vance. Right now, I only wish you would stay far away from me, the farther the better." After saying this, Shawn Miller closed the door. That night, a sleepless night. And the next morning, when Shawn Miller opened his door, he was startled. Sylvia Vance was kneeling ramrod straight in front of High's door. Looking at her, it was clear she had knelt there rigidly all night. Capital City had already started its heating season. The temperature in the corridor at night was probably already below freezing. Shawn Miller hadn't expected Sylvia Vance to atone to him in this manner. Fortunately, it was a one-apartment-per-floor building. Otherwise, if the neighbors saw, who knew what stories they would concoct, Shawn Miller frowned deeply. "Sylvia Vance, when will you ever change this habit of yours of always doing as you please?" Hearing his voice, Sylvia slowly raised her head. Her face was as pale as snow, her lips chapped and cracked. "Shawn, what did you say?" "I said, your atonement is affecting my life. And if you want to atone, shouldn't you return my kidney to me first?" This time, it was Shawn Miller's turn to look down from a position of superiority. "You're right." Sylvia Vance stood up unsteadily, her legs numb and weak. She took out a sharp dagger from her pocket. In front of Shawn Miller, without hesitation, she plunged it towards her own heart. In that split second, Shawn Miller recognized the dagger. It was a Tibetan knife he had brought back 10 years ago when he went to the Potala Palace in Tibet to sketch. That year was Sylvia Vance's 20th birthday. Shawn Miller had given her this gem-encrusted Tibetan knife and a painting as birthday gifts. "Thank you, Shawn. This is my favorite birthday gift this year." Shawn Miller still remembered how Sylvia had looked down at him that year, a faint smile on her face. He had thought she had thrown this dagger away long ago. The sound of a blade piercing flesh. Then, warm blood gushed out like a broken dam. As Sylvia Vance fell backward, she only heard Shawn Miller's anxious voice. "Are you crazy, Sylvia Vance?" Before her consciousness blurred, Sylvia felt Shawn Miller's warm palm pressing against her heart. She also heard Shawn Miller's desperate cry. "Sylvia Vance, I'm telling you, even if you die now, I won't forgive you this lifetime, the next lifetime, for all eternity. I will not forgive you." Chapter 25, St. John's Hospital. Sylvia Vance was rushed into the emergency room. Eleanor Miller, hearing about it from Assistant Lee, hurried over. "Shawn, my darling son, are you all right?" Eleanor pulled the blood-soaked Shawn Miller in front of her, examining him from left to right. "I'm fine. This is all Sylvia Vance's blood." Shawn subtly avoided Eleanor's soft, warm palm, frowning slightly. "What did you just call me?" "I'm sorry," Eleanor, realizing her slip of the tongue, blurted out. "It's all right." Shawn sat down on a nearby bench, waving his hand magnanimously. He could understand that Eleanor was used to calling Ethan Miller and Ryan Miller that way. It was just a habit. "Shawn," Eleanor walked over to Shawn Miller and slowly, resolutely, bent her knees. Shawn, who was feeling anxious and wanted a cigarette, was startled by this sudden action and hurriedly supported Eleanor's arms. "What are you doing? You are an elder, Mrs. Miller. How can you kneel to me?" For some reason, this sentence deeply pained Eleanor's heart. Perhaps in Shawn Miller's eyes, she had many identities, but they were already completely unrelated strangers. "Shawn, I just want to apologize to my son as a mother." Eleanor looked up at Shawn, who was so close, her eyes already brimming with tears. "Mother?" Shawn Miller froze. He suddenly found it very laughable. Why are people always like this? Always full of regret after losing something. Always knowing their mistake only after paying a bloody price. "Mrs. Miller, are you asking me to forgive Ethan Miller?" At that moment, Shawn could only think of this possibility. He looked at Eleanor and said faintly, "I'm just a powerless little painter now. My forgiveness isn't important. If you all feel very uneasy, you can just pretend Shawn Miller is already dead." Shawn Miller smiled faintly. "I haven't introduced myself since I came back. My name is Sterling Stark. Whether it was Mrs. Miller or the phrase, you can just pretend Shawn Miller is already dead." Eleanor felt a heart-wrenching pain because of them. She shook her head repeatedly. "No, that's not it, Shawn. I'm not asking you to forgive Ethan. Ethan did so many unforgivable things to you. Whether his conscience troubles him and he regrets it for life, or whether he experiences your suffering, that's all what he deserves." Eleanor gripped Shawn Miller's hand tightly. "You don't have to forgive him. Not even me, your father, Ryan, or Miss Vance. You can choose not to forgive any of us." Tears streamed down Eleanor's face. "Shawn, we've wronged you. I just want to compensate you." "No need," Shawn gently interrupted. "I don't need it anymore." "Don't need it anymore. That means he once needed it, but it was in the past. I know you don't care about anything we do now, but what should be yours we must give to you." Eleanor's expression was firm. She took out several documents from her handbag. She explained them to Shawn Miller one by one. "Here, this is a share transfer agreement for 24.8 of Miller Corporation. This is under my name, and I've already had it notarized. I'm giving it to you now. There are also 2 properties. Your maternal grandfather bought them for you when he was still alive. These are rightfully yours." Eleanor looked at Shawn Miller, her eyes filled with apprehension. She forced a smile. "You've become a painter now. That's wonderful. There are several excellent art galleries in Capital City and also private art museums. I've contacted people to buy them. They are also yours now." "Mrs. Miller, I can't accept these. I'm doing very well now. I really don't need them." Shawn Miller still shook his head in refusal, but Eleanor still looked at him with such gentle and loving eyes. "Child, these things originally belonged to you. Now they are just being returned to their rightful owner." Chapter 26. Faced with Eleanor Miller's gaze, how could Shawn Miller, who had lacked love since childhood, not be moved? But some wounds cannot be erased by a few words or material possessions, especially after growing up. Shawn Miller still slowly and firmly shook his head. "Mrs. Miller, from birth until now, the clearest truth I understand is that nothing in this world is inherently destined to belong to any one person, regardless of blood ties or feelings." Under Eleanor's sorrowful gaze, he smiled. "Mom, I once truly wished you could love me as much as you loved Ethan Miller, but now I really don't need it anymore." No one will die because they lack someone's love. Shawn paused for a moment, then said softly, especially me. The sharpest torment or the loudest slap. Eleanor had briefly felt a flicker of hope at Shawn's, Mom, only to have her face turn deathly pale at his subsequent words. Shawn, are you really not willing to give me even one chance to make amends? Before Shawn could answer, the red light indicating surgery in progress in the operating room suddenly went out. The doctor walked out. Are you the family? You can rest assured. Thanks to timely medical attention and resuscitation, the patient is out of danger. Thank you, doctor. May I ask when she will wake up? Shawn Miller stood up. Even covered in blood, his resilient and striking presence couldn't be concealed. The patient may be quite fatigued recently, so she might be unconscious for some time. I can't estimate this period precisely. It could be as short as 2 or 3 hours, or as long as a day or two, the doctor answered truthfully. Understood. Shawn Miller nodded. Since she wouldn't be waking up anytime soon, there was no need for him to stay at the hospital. Mrs. Miller, please inform her special assistant. I have some work matters to attend to, so I apologize for not being able to stay longer. That Mom just now seemed to have been just Eleanor's illusion, or perhaps it was pity, an offering before completely severing ties. Eleanor looked at the well-mannered Shawn, her heart aching more and more. Shawn, watching his retreating figure, Eleanor couldn't help but call out, "Is there anything else?" Shawn turned around, puzzled. "No," Eleanor smiled. "Take care of yourself, don't work too hard." "Okay, thank you," polite and distant. Only after Shawn's figure disappeared around the corner of the corridor did Eleanor collapse onto the chair as if she had lost her backbone. She looked at those documents. Even if Shawn didn't want them, these things still belonged to Shawn. In the VIP ward, Sylvia Vance frowned even in her deep sleep. Clearly, she was dreaming of Shawn Miller again. In the dream, Shawn's figure was blurry, yet he always resisted her approach. "Shawn, I was wrong. Wrong because I clearly loved you the most yet still chose to have a fake marriage with Ethan. Wrong because I clearly wavered yet still sent you to prison. Shawn, is it too late to say I love you now? I love you. I really love you." Sylvia Vance wanted to grasp the blurry shadow, but shadows cannot be grasped. Even if caught, they would quickly dissipate in her palm. "Shawn, I'm sorry. I'm willing to accept punishment. I'm willing to give up everything, as long as you're willing to look at me again, willing to smile at me, willing to accept my love for you." How laughable and tragic. She only dared to speak of love in her dreams. But these things, Shawn Miller was destined not to know. The Celestial Residences, Cloud Road No. 8. Exhausted, Shawn Miller took off his clothes and stood before the full-length mirror. A blue morpho butterfly on his waist seemed poised for flight. As for the scars from Redwood Penitentiary, some of the shallower ones had been removed through surgery. The deeper ones, though their color had faded and lightened, still crisscrossed Shawn's skin. He carefully touched the lifelike butterfly. The pain of the tattoo seemed to linger on this 10-centimeter patch of skin. Sylvia Vance, even physical scars can't be completely erased. How do you expect me to forget the past and fall in love with you again? It's simply impossible. Chapter 27, Shawn Miller didn't leave his apartment for 3 consecutive days. For these 3 days, he did nothing but paint endlessly. Pain, sorrow, anger. Too many gloomy emotions were vented by Shawn onto the white canvases. "Sterling, are you okay in China? I've dried some oranges and grapefruits, already packed them up and had Andy send them to you. I hear Capital City is very dry. Remember to brew tea from time to soothe your throat. I'm praying for you in Dominica." In the darkness, only the faint glow of a phone screen. It was a voice message from his landlady, Mary. Shawn curled up on the floor, listening to it over and over. "Mom," Shawn murmured unconsciously. Indeed, all his understanding of the word mother stemmed from this middle-aged woman far away in Dominica. He missed Mary's chamomile-scented palms, missed the tooth-achingly sour cod in tomato sauce, missed the sun-dried, yet still colorful, various dried fruits. Ding-dong. The doorbell rang. Shawn got up, wrapped in a thick blanket, and went to open the door. It was an unfamiliar lawyer and the familiar Assistant Lee. "Are you together?" Shawn frowned. Assistant Lee, carrying a briefcase, shook his head. "No, this is Mrs. Miller's lawyer, and I am here under Miss Vance's orders." It seemed they wouldn't give up until it was resolved. This time, Shawn didn't turn them away. 2 bottles of Rolls-Royce of mineral water Chatelden were casually tossed towards them. "What is it? Please be quick." Shawn sat cross-legged on the sofa, his expression cold. "This is a deed of gift for 45.7 of Miller Corporation's shares, originally belonging to Mrs. Miller and young Master Ryan. There's also a cashier's check and the transfer certificates and property deeds for 3 houses, the Imperial Palace at West End, Capitol Grand, and Willow Court." The lawyer methodically produced a thick stack of documents. "Mrs. Miller and young Master Ryan asked me to convey that they know these things may not mean much to you, but this is their compensation. Whether you accept it or not, it is already yours. Mrs. Miller was one thing, but even Ryan Miller was giving up his shares." Shawn was somewhat surprised. Clearing his throat, Assistant Lee also produced a thick stack of documents. "Mr. Stark, these are all the assets of Vance Corporation." Before Assistant Lee could finish, Shawn interrupted with a frown. "What do you mean? Is your young Miss Vance also washing her hands of it all?" "Haha, well." Assistant Lee was somewhat at a loss for how to answer. Just then, Sylvia Vance's weak voice came from the doorway. "I just want to apologize to you. I know, only by suffering as you once did can it count as an apology." Assistant Lee and the Miller family lawyer, both very perceptive, temporarily excused themselves. Sylvia Vance, enduring the pain in her chest, slowly approached. "I'm handing over all my assets to you. Now I'm penniless. Between us, I am no longer the one in power, no longer looking down on you. Shawn, I just want to give you the right and the confidence to hurt me." Shawn Miller stared unblinkingly at this pale, uninvited woman. Suddenly, he curved his lip. "Sylvia Vance, can hurting you make those 7 years disappear? Or can it erase all the scars between us? Aren't you being too naive?" Saying these words, he felt a sense of relief, yet also a pang in his heart. Wasn't this, in a way, reopening his own wounds? But as Shawn's words fell, a thud was heard. Shawn looked over, puzzled. Sylvia Vance had actually knelt down straight towards him. Chapter 28, "I'm sorry, Shawn." Sylvia Vance, casting aside her dignity and pride, her years of arrogance and invincibility, crawled on her knees to Shawn Miller's side. She wanted to grasp his large, warm hand, but restrained herself and lowered it. "Shawn, I know nothing I do can undo the harm I've caused you. I just want to make things equal, to give your years of grievances, pain, and sorrow an outlet. All of you just want to ease your own consciences. Why should I give you such an opportunity? I will never reconcile with you in my life. I want you to suffer forever. To suffer more than I did then, forever and ever." Shawn Miller grabbed the ashtray at hand and hurled it violently at Sylvia Vance. Sylvia let out a muffled groan. The glass ashtray had hit her shoulder. However, Sylvia, her eyes still red, straightened up and hugged Shawn. "Shawn, it's okay. It's okay if you don't forgive, if you don't reconcile. It's okay to hurt us." The moment they embraced, Shawn Miller froze. It was a very awkward hug. Sylvia seemed to realize this too. A brief moment, then they separated. The shoulder hit by the ashtray and the still unhealed wound in her heart both throbbed with pain, but Sylvia still bit her lip, her eyes downcast. "I'm sorry, it's my fault. I got a little carried away." Her voice, clearly submissive, pulled Shawn out of his reverie. For a fleeting moment, he had thought of the Sylvia Vance of 16 years ago. The Sylvia Vance then was the best Sylvia Vance, and the Shawn Miller now was the best Shawn Miller. Between their best selves lay 16 years of intertwined love and hate, of silent tears. "Miss Vance would actually get carried away with someone like me?" Shawn Miller sneered, his eyes icy. "Don't you find me utterly repulsive now?" Hearing this, Sylvia Vance's face turned white. Hurtful words, once spoken, are like spilled water, impossible to retrieve. And at this moment, wasn't this, after all these years, a bullet hitting Sylvia right between the eyes? Shawn seemed to recall those hellish memories, the gloomy, dark, solitary confinement cell in prison. "Get out," he pointed to the door, his voice sharp. "I don't want to see you. You only make me suffer. Only remind me of that night. Only remind me of those 7 years of living death. That night?" Looking at the emotionally collapsed Shawn Miller, Sylvia didn't move. Instead, she once again pulled him into her embrace. "Shawn, listen to me. That night, I didn't kiss Ethan Miller. I really didn't kiss him." But what meaning did this answer hold now? It didn't matter anymore. It had long since ceased to matter. 13 years ago, Shawn Miller was not chosen by Sylvia Vance. Instead, he was sent to prison. From that moment on, their fate was sealed. Sylvia Vance, what gives you the right to treat me like that? You're powerful, you're fabulously wealthy, so you can treat me like that. I'm a human being, I'm a living, breathing human being. Shawn Miller struggled in her arms, flailing, finally biting down hard on her bruised, purplish shoulder, deeply, as if to vent all the resentment of these years, until the taste of blood filled his mouth. I'm sorry, Shawn, I'm sorry. Sylvia repeated these 3 words over and over. These 3 words were pale and cheap, but apart from these 3 words, what else could Sylvia say? Slap, a heavy slap landed on Sylvia Vance's face. She bore it silently. She raised her hand, slowly and gently patting Shawn Miller's back. Shawn, it's okay. Just let it all out, it'll be better. Don't keep those things locked inside you, it's okay. Still the same words. In a daze, Shawn felt as if he were being held by the 17-year-old Sylvia Vance. Chapter 29, the 17-year-old Sylvia Vance would hold an umbrella for him, would help him escape the suffocating Miller household. Shawn, don't be afraid. Even if no one else likes you, I like you. The 17-year-old Sylvia stood under a kapok tree, her smile beautiful. It was clearly she who had first spoken of liking him, but why did it turn out like this later? Why did her temperament change so drastically after the kidney transplant surgery? Why did she choose not to believe him after Ethan's incident? Why did she send him to prison? Why, after 7 years, did she still torture and humiliate him like this? Why did she have a fake marriage with Ethan? Why, even now, was she still unwilling to let him go? What was all this for? Something in Shawn Miller's heart seemed to be struggling, wanting to burst forth. Under the intertwined grief and pain, he finally blurted out, his voice hoarse. Why do this to me? Why so? He hadn't forgotten for so long. He hadn't forgot anything. Shawn Miller had thought that changing his name, moving to another country, making new good friends and a relative who was like a mother, even starting to paint again and being appreciated by industry giants, meant he had let go of the past. But no, he had merely hidden the past deep in his heart, never finding an outlet. The 27-year-old Shawn Miller had been trapped in place all along, until this moment of hysteria. Shawn Miller sobbed on Sylvia Vance's shoulder like a wounded little animal. Shawn, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Feeling her shoulder gradually moisten, Sylvia's heart twisted in agony, and she couldn't help but shed tears. The highest realm of love is empathy, or rather, love is feeling what another feels. Half an hour later, Shawn Miller had gradually calmed down, though his eyes were still slightly red. Sylvia Vance extended a fingertip and very lightly touched the moist, red corner of his eye. I'm sorry, she smiled wanly. I clearly said I was making amends, yet I still made you cry. Shawn shook his head, his voice weary. Sylvia Vance, I'm tired. I really don't want to be entangled with you over the past anymore. It disgusts me. So after today, let's really not see each other again. Let's end it here. Sylvia Vance froze. The word disgusts made her face turn pale. Sylvia hadn't expected Shawn's first words after calming down would still be to send her away. Nor had she expected him to say something so harsh. Shawn, is there really no possibility between us anymore? Sylvia still refused to give up the last shred of hope. She looked at Shawn, trying to discern a trace of reluctance or pity on his face. But there was none. Shawn Miller, meeting Sylvia Vance's gaze, had only weariness, only aversion in his eyes. Many times I was on the verge of death. I thought when I got out, you would feel a little, even just a little, pity or compassion. I wasn't asking you to find out the so-called truth. I just wanted you not to treat me like the Miller family did. Shawn Miller gave a bitter smile. But you didn't. Hearing this, Sylvia felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured over her head. Both her body and her heart turned completely cold. So Shawn Miller had held so much hope for her. But what had she done? Sylvia Vance, I'm begging you, please let me go. Shawn Miller looked at Sylvia Vance, so fragile, so helpless. Thinking of his pain just now, Sylvia nodded and with difficulty said that one word. All right, she agreed. Before leaving, Sylvia Vance looked at Shawn Miller deeply for a long, long time. So long it seemed she wanted to engrave his features into her heart and soul. Shawn, if my appearance can only bring you pain, then I am willing to disappear from your world. Chapter 30. 2 weeks later, the Celestial Residences, Cloud Road number 8. The doorbell rang incessantly. Shawn Miller thought it was Sylvia Vance. He opened the door, about to mock her for not keeping her word, but unexpectedly, it was Ryan Miller, carrying 2 large bags of gifts, looking embarrassed. "Big bro, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. I know you don't want to see me either. These are all nourishing traditional medicines, and some easels, paints, and stuff. I'll just put them down and leave," though he said that, Ryan showed no intention of leaving. He stared at Shawn Miller with wide, moist eyes. "Is there something else?" Shawn felt uneasy being stared at like that. Ryan Miller nodded. "Brother, can you slap me?" He took Shawn Miller's hand. "I'm not afraid, no matter how hard you hit, and I won't dodge, really." Though he said he wasn't afraid, the fingers holding Shawn's palm were trembling slightly. Ryan Miller had been spoiled to the point of extreme naivety, truly a flower in a greenhouse. As if the world were only black and white. These days, there were still people who came looking for a beating. Shawn Miller pulled his hand back. "You did those things for your brother? I can understand that, but I won't hit you. It's just that I don't want to be the aggressor, and what's between us isn't something a slap can resolve. I know, I did many things that hurt you before. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry." Ryan Miller bowed deeply, looking as pitiful as a drenched stray puppy. Sigh. For some reason, facing this Ryan Miller, Shawn could only let out a long sigh. This led to Ryan pushing his luck. First, he entered the apartment. Then he took Shawn Miller to the mental hospital where Ethan Miller was staying. Benevolent Heart Psychiatric Hospital. "Big bro, not long after you left, Ethan was sent to Redwood Penitentiary by Big Sis V, but later, he not only self-harmed but also injured others several times, so Big Sis V sent him here." Ryan Miller observed Shawn's expression, speaking cautiously. "So your purpose in bringing me to see him is?" Shawn was somewhat puzzled. "I just want you to know that the bad guys have been punished. Don't make things hard for yourself." Shawn Miller froze. "Why do you all think I haven't let go? That I'm still struggling with myself?" A genuinely puzzled question. Ryan Miller waved his hands repeatedly. "That's not what I mean, big bro, don't misunderstand. He eyed for a while but couldn't articulate anything further. Shawn Miller smiled faintly. "It's okay, where is he? I'll go take a look." "Okay." Ryan, his face flushed, nodded quickly. Through a transparent glass window, Shawn Miller saw Ethan Miller, restrained in a chair. "Patient number 4108 is extremely unstable and prone to violence. We really had no choice but to do this," the accompanying nurse explained. The former second young Master Miller was now just a cold, impersonal number. How similar to Shawn's own 7 years. Most of those injuries on his body are self-inflicted. Some are punishments for not cooperating when we feed him medicine or give him injections. Mrs. Miller and Miss Vance both said that bumps and bruises are unavoidable as long as he's alive. Seeing Shawn stare at the scars on Ethan's arm for a long time, the nurse felt a little guilty. Shawn Miller nodded. Respect others' destinies, let go of the urge to save. He didn't want to get involved in others' karma. "Big bro, I just hope that knowing this will help you sleep well. No one will hurt you anymore." Ryan Miller held Shawn's hand, his expression still cautious. He was concerned about the faint dark circles under his eyes, concerned about the sleep aid medication on the coffee table. Their clasped hands were so warm. Thump, thump, it was as if their pulses were gradually synchronizing. "Big bro, we share the closest blood ties. I will love you, though it's many years late, I love you." Shawn Miller didn't speak, just remained silent. "Ryan, you really don't have to," Ryan Miller quickly interrupted. "Of course I have to. You are my brother, my only brother. If Mom and Dad pass away, you will be my only relative in this world. I will share my wealth, my status with you." Tears fell from his eyes. "Big bro, please believe me, love is stronger than hate." Perhaps only Ryan Miller would say such a thing. Shawn Miller didn't spoil the mood further. As he turned to leave, Ethan Miller, restrained in the chair, shed tears. But no one cared anymore. Chapter 30, December 21st, Shawn Miller's first art exhibition was held at the Capital City Art Museum. The theme this time was rainy season. The art museum was filled with renowned artists. Sylvia Vance, in a black dress, stood before a massive, fiery red kapok tree. The kapok tree was being drenched by rain, yet its red was even more brilliant, like a burning flame. Coincidentally, the name of this painting was Fire in the Rain. "Contact Miss Jade Roberts. I want to buy this painting. Price is no object." After an unknown amount of time, Sylvia Vance spoke gravely. Her wound hadn't fully healed yet. After saying a sentence, she would have to stop and cough for a while. Assistant Lee, standing beside her, nodded and immediately went to handle it. These days, Sylvia Vance truly hadn't appeared before Shawn Miller again. But she still had Assistant Lee send him medicinal soups, fresh flowers, desserts, plush toys. At first, Shawn wouldn't accept them. Later, he stopped throwing them out. Thinking of this, Sylvia Vance couldn't help but curve her lips slightly. Sylvia Vance! Shawn Miller had just finished conversing with several mentors when he saw Assistant Lee. If Assistant Lee was here, Sylvia Vance was likely here too. Thus, Shawn Miller had walked over here. This painting, Fire in the Rain, was located almost at the deepest part of the gallery, so very few people came here. His voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. Shawn Miller didn't believe Sylvia Vance hadn't heard him. However, Sylvia Vance didn't turn around for a long time, until Shawn Miller's footsteps grew closer and closer, finally stopping beside her. "Sylvia Vance, didn't you hear me call you?" Shawn Miller frowned, looking at the woman whose complexion still wasn't good. "I heard." Sylvia Vance gave a bitter smile. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to appear before you. I'll leave now." With that, she intended to leave. But Shawn Miller took hold of Sylvia Vance's little finger. He couldn't explain his own actions at this moment either. Perhaps it was because of this kapok tree. In that instant, the person whose hand was hooked felt a tremor from body to soul. "The first time we met, it was raining in Capital City. You were soaked to the bone, hiding under the shelter of a bus stop like a homeless kitten. At that time, I didn't know you were the eldest son of the Miller family. I just thought how pitiful this person is." Sylvia Vance spoke very softly, as if afraid of scaring someone away. "But when I approached you, and you looked up at me, I knew you were definitely not that kind of small, pitiful cat. You were not weak, because your eyes were dark and bright, with a stubbornness I couldn't understand. I asked you, who are you, why are you here?" Sylvia Vance looked at the hand Shawn Miller had hooked with his and smiled faintly. "You said your name was Shawn Miller, but you didn't know who you were supposed to be then. Then you asked me who I was. I told you my name. You read aloud the 2 words Zhu Hui, and then you started reciting Shu Ting's to the oak tree." So, Sylvia remembered their first meeting so clearly. Shawn Miller looked at Sylvia Vance, his long, silent heart suddenly thumping again. That was because of the 15-year-old self and the 18-year-old Sylvia Vance back then. "If I love you, I'll never be a clinging trumpet creeper, using your high branches to show off my height. I must be a kapok tree, standing near you as the image of a tree. We share the cold waves, the thunder, the thunderbolt. We share the mists, the flowing clouds, the rainbows, as if forever separate, yet forever dependent on each other." Why did Shawn Miller recite this poem back then? Was it because of the character Snow, or did the name Zhu Hui remind him of this poem? But now Sylvia Vance understood Shawn Miller was a magnificent red flower, a heroic torch. And her harm to him was like a knife, like a sword, and also like a halberd. "Shawn, what is great love?" Sylvia Vance took a step closer to Shawn Miller. "Shawn, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be forever separated from you. I only want to be with you for life." "Please," Sylvia Vance pressed against Shawn Miller's shoulder. "Give me a hint, just a little hint." Chapter 32. After the art exhibition, Shawn Miller returned to Dominica. He wanted to go back to that little attic room where he could see the ocean and the volcano. To return to Mom's embrace. "Mary, if someone who once hurt you deeply begged for your love, would you give it?" Resting his head on his landlady Mary's lap, he gently closed his eyes. In the gentle stroking, Shawn Miller smelled the familiar, reassuring scent of chamomile after a long time. After returning, Shawn Miller had told Mary and Andy his real name. Anyway, Sylvia Vance and the Miller family in Capital City already knew Sterling Stark was Shawn Miller, so there was no need to hide it from his closest relations. Shawn Miller held Mary's aged hand. Mary looked down, her expression so loving. "If you ask me, I will only tell you, don't give it, don't forgive, and never. If you easily choose to forgive now, how desperate must you have been then?" Shawn Miller froze. Yes, how could his present self make decisions for his past self? Moreover, a broken mirror is hard to mend. It might not be a relapse into old mistakes. Thinking of this, Shawn Miller sat up and looked at the constantly flashing phone screen beside him. It was Sylvia Vance. Miss Jade Roberts had told Shawn that someone was willing to pay an 8-figure sum for fire in the rain. He didn't have to think hard to know this client was Sylvia Vance. In this world, only she would completely understand the meaning behind fire in the rain. After the transaction was completed, Shawn asked Ryan for Sylvia's contact information and transferred half of the amount back to her account. Shawn knew full well whether this piece currently held that value. He didn't want to inflate the price of his paintings due to some relationship, falsely advertising how valuable his work was. Shawn, there's been rain in Dominica lately. Remember to take an umbrella when you go out. If your leg or anywhere else hurts when it rains, you can use the medicinal patches I sent you. Messages like this, continuously. Even the latest one was, "I'm sorry, you haven't replied to my messages, and I was a bit worried. Please forgive my uninvited arrival." Shawn Miller still didn't reply, or perhaps some things were better said face to face. The next morning, Shawn Miller sent the meeting location to Sylvia Vance. It was a very popular temple in Dominica, built next to Trafalgar Falls, and the spot where Shawn and Sylvia stood faced a view that could truly be described as a waterfall plunging 3,000 feet straight down. "Are your wounds all healed?" Shawn looked at Sylvia Vance and spoke first. Sylvia Vance nodded. "All healed. That's good." Shawn Miller smiled faintly. "Sylvia, whenever I stand here, I always marvel at the incredible craftsmanship of nature and the insignificance of humanity. I always think that a person's life is a fleeting 100 years, a period of love, a period of hate." He looked calmly at the no longer young Sylvia Vance before him, and at the same time, saw in her eyes the no longer young himself. "Sylvia, we don't have much time left in our lives." As if anticipating what Shawn Miller would say next, Sylvia's heart leaped violently, the pain distinct. She wanted to speak, but he stopped her with a gentle shake of his head. "Sylvia, I don't want to look back. Before I left Capital City, I told myself that my life can only move forward. There are too many things between us: love, hate, anger, obsession, suffering. Please forgive me for not being able to let go, for not being able to move on." Shawn Miller smiled faintly. "Or perhaps, after 10 or 20 years pass, I will let go. At that time, I think we might be able to sit down and have a drink, but there will be no more love between us." It had come to this. What was missed was missed. How could Sylvia Vance not understand? "I understand. I won't bother you anymore. Seeing you well is enough for me." After a long silence, she managed to say these words. "Dominica is beautiful. I wish you a pleasant journey." This was the last sentence Shawn Miller left for Sylvia Vance before they parted. After this farewell, for many years to come, the two never met again. Sylvia Vance would occasionally see news on television about Sterling Stark holding art exhibitions in various countries around the world. As the largest shareholder of both the Miller and Vance conglomerates, he was also the youngest tycoon in Capital City. She would also see photos of him and Ryan Miller on Ryan's social media feed. Tanned, a little plumper, but truly happy. Perhaps the journey of life is like this. Some people get on the bus and some people get off. So please cherish the people before you. Because some people once missed are missed for a lifetime. And on Shawn Miller's eternally unresponsive social media account, Sylvia Vance sent a message. "Shawn, I wish you a lifetime of spring, and may the fiery red kapok flowers bloom forever."